That intro makes the show seem way more professional than it actually is. But I get it. Welcome,
That
everybody.
intro would make a lot of SJWs pissed off about this specific movie.
Oh yeah, well we'll get to that one in a second. There's going to be a lot of people upset, but we are here for episode 19 of the Monday Night Movie Review Club. This started with a little thing with myself, Rob, and Rick, and it's gone all the way to 19 episodes. Are you guys proud that you've accomplished such great feats here on YouTube?
Oh,
yes, yes. But we've had a very strange run of films.
Yeah,
Most of the movies have been terrible, but yes, I'm very proud to have had sat through them and made myself go to the theater for most of them. So yeah, it's been a ride.
Well, as you can see,
this podcast is a conquest for me because I'm your favorite colonizer and I'm your token white girl at the same time. So I feel like I've accomplished something.
Well, let's go ahead and introduce people because we got some new guys here in the chat who are here for this very special discussion on the latest MCU film, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. But let's go ahead and introduce our normals, our casuals here first. Then we can introduce our new guys. We'll start off, Mr. Orange Hat. How are you doing today, Orange? How's it going?
Well, I'm good. Been taking care of stuff, doing winter prep, watching movies, doing streams, just living.
Good to hear. And then you can see on the top here, our top center square, our satanic anime girl here. Sia Johnson, how you doing today?
Oh, I'm very good. Unlike this movie that we're going to talk about, but just, yep.
Then, of course, if you've watched the show long enough, you know who Rick and Rob is. So we'll go ahead and give you guys your little intro.
Hey guys.
That's,
Yeah.
Don't speak in
Short and sweet.
Hey guys. I kind of wish we were watching another movie this week. We watched Weird Science last week because this movie is terrible. In fact, this is probably the movie I wanted to see the least out of the 19 episodes we've done. So that's how much reticence I had to go see this movie. So
the idea that you were desperate to see Bros strikes me as very curious there, Rob. But
not a good look. It's all it's saying.
To each his own. I, for my part, am absolutely thrilled to be here. I'm thrilled to be with new people, and I'm very excited to discuss the Citizen Kane of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, a film that is guaranteed to win or at least be nominated for, I count, 10 Academy Awards. So this will be the highlight of our time.
We already know that Angela Bassett is going to win an Academy Award for this film, and we'll get to that
she
discussion later on. But let's introduce our new guys here to their panel. For the first time joining us for our movie review chat, we got our good buddy here, Mike, Mr. Mexican Iron Man, who's decided to join us on a Monday night. How you doing today?
Hey, great to be here. Your guys' work is great. I did a deep dive over my lunch break today, and thanks for having me. Good quality work, and yeah, I mean it's really awesome to see people on YouTube that are also doing writing, and I think that's important. It's a real comprehensive approach because you really can get a full perspective. Like I saw I think 2 or 3 of your videos from previous shows, and then I read a bunch of your movie review articles, which were great.
Yeah.
So thanks for having me. Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us. No, it's like I said, it was kind of a last minute thing. I'm glad you joined us here. And then, of course, you can see on our bottom center square right now is our good buddy, Paulie the Latino Slant, who has joined us, has graced us with our presence here tonight. How you doing today, Paulie?
Good. I'm doing well. It's, thank you for that intro. It's true. It's true.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Yeah.
Let me go ahead.
Well, you're welcome. You're welcome.
I'm gonna boost you up to just the center square, just for the time being, and then let the others.
The colonizer has to be at the bottom.
Yes.
I was going to say, I'm the token woman here, so of course I got to go on the bottom. So.
Yes, we have the women at the bottom. We have all of our Hispanic representation in the center square, and then we have the degenerates here at the top. So I think we have a pretty balanced, of how we got here. I do.
Yeah, it feels like we're at a Mecha meeting here, right in the middle.
Exactly.
All we're missing is the Morrissey soundtrack playing in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Well,
I'll
like I
take it
said,
probably a dozen.
the irony is not lost on me that we're reviewing Wakanda Forever, and we have more Hispanics on the show than ever before. So I just wanted to go ahead and throw
You know,
that
I
out
got to
there.
tell you, reviews society. I got to tell you something. I want to give you an award because you actually, in terms of skin color, have more Mexicans on this show right now than the entire 3 hours of Wakanda movie.
In the
Wow.
flesh too.
Not even,
So
not even with El Cucuy popping up there.
Well, that was one guy, but everybody else is blue.
I'm part
No,
Mexican
but you had
too, by
La
the way.
Senora,
Okay,
though.
so that's four. We
No,
got
no,
four.
so
Listen.
we got 3.5.
You had
on
La
the show.
Senora trying to tell Lupita off, like, hey, don't come into my village, like she didn't like Lupita, like snooping around with her little glasses y todo.
And
The
yeah,
abuela was like,
technically,
no, I don't know who that is. Namor, get out of here, get lost.
and we should point out that Lupita Nyong'o technically is Mexican because she was born in Mexico.
Well, let's go ahead and introduce our final guest who joined us here too, Mr. Obi Tynes, who's joining us for the first time in a while, but hopefully he'll balance out the overrepresentation of Hispanics that we have here tonight. How you doing, Obi? Can you hear us? I know he just cut on there. Can you hear? I think he might be having a little audio issue, but we'll get back to him in a quick second. Quick little shout out to everyone in the chat before we get started here. Spencer, who says that he can't keep waiting for this anymore. Yeah, Spencer is currently editing the my review for Wakanda Forever that I submitted on Friday, but he's currently getting on it right now during the middle of the show. So thank you, Spencer, for joining us. Then our good buddy Duke Nukem, who was here, more like Wakanda Forever, according to our good buddy all the way from Germany. Says the only thing good about the movie was the big black guy beating his chest. I would have to say which one, but we'll get to that one here in a second. Our good buddy Osnot is here. Said that he accomplished a great feat by losing 100 pounds. I would say, what was her name? That's what I said.
Damn.
That's funny.
Oh, it's gonna be this type of show. Okay.
But he's putting in the work there. As you can see, Osnot's doing some great work. So good, shout out to Osnot there. We got our good buddy Dre Watson, who's also in the chat. Say hey, ladies and gentlemen. So shout out to him and everyone else we have here in the chat. You might see Johnson talking throughout the course of this movie as well. So shout out to everyone who's here watching us. Obviously, OB's having a couple of issues, but he'll join us back here in a second. But until then, I guess we can just go ahead and get this thing out of the way. We are here to talk about the final MCU film of the year out of the trilogy. We started this thing off with Doctor Strange 2 back in May. Then over the summer, we got Thor Love and Thunder, which is a movie that we all hated. And now we're here with Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. So before we get started talking about anything in the film, we have to address the elephant in the room. So let's go ahead and talk about the passing of Chadwick Boseman and how that leads into this kind of basically the whole premise of this film. So if you guys don't know the story, essentially what happened is that back in a couple years ago, it was announced that Chadwick Boseman had passed away suddenly. I believe he was 38 years old. No, he was 42 years old. He was a little bit older than that. I had Rumble in my mind, but yeah, he passed away at 42 years old. He was secretly battling colon cancer for a number of years. You know, there was some pictures and some videos in kind of his last days where he looked very, very ill, which worried a lot of people, and there was reason to worry. So he kind of kept it very, in secret with his small circle at the time, but. Yeah, just kind of out of nowhere, Chadwick Boseman died, and you're kind of like, well, Black Panther just came out a couple of years before that. It was a massive success. It did like $1.3 billion for its first movie for its kind. There was a lot of buzz about Black Panther at the time, but now all of a sudden, your star of the film is no longer here. So what was going to be the direction that Disney decided to take with this franchise? And there was a lot of people arguing that they should just recast the role. There was a lot of people saying that if he's passed away, just don't do Black Panther anymore at all. Just kind of move on from it. There was a lot of questions about what they should do going into it. And as we've seen on Twitter over the last, I guess you could say, year or so, there's been people saying just recast T'Challa, recast him as a new actor. You don't have to do exactly what you did here in this film. So essentially, they were left with the option of recasting him altogether and taking heat of getting upset that people were just, that they were going to say that, hey, you're just completely blowing past Chadwick Boseman's legacy. Or you can do what they did in this film, which is essentially, hey, look, we don't have a Black Panther right now, so let's turn his sister, the secondary character of the last movie, into the new Black Panther and then move on from there. So before we talk about kind of the specifics about this film, I want to ask you guys specifically about the decision to either recast or not recast Chadwick Boseman's character. I'll start with you, Paulie. Do you think that they made the right decision now that we've seen this whole thing play out, or do you think they should have went another way with how they handled Chadwick Boseman's passing?
No, they made the worst decision ever. Completely a disrespect to his legacy, to who he was. If you knew him as a private man, as an actor, which they say they did, they just should have went on. Go on with the show, man. If anything, he went on with the show until his dying day.
Yeah,
from voiceovers to his final appearances, this man was all class. His performances are so memorable in 42, in the Draft Day, even like the little co-starring roles. I always loved him. And then of course with this, he made an okay movie. Let's be, for me, Black Panther was an okay movie. He made it incredible. Him and Michael B. Jordan. They ascended the script. They ascended, the kind of like the petty little, politics and agenda that they were trying to get through, which was there. And there was a lot of, pro girl power in there, which I don't have a problem with, but it's got to be balanced. You don't want to alienate any audience. Now, this was probably the worst. So if you're not going to recast, this was probably the worst way that you could take out T'Challa, because there's Chadwick Boseman and there's T'Challa, right? It was for me. I found that whole sequence, that whole horrible, odd sequence in the beginning, completely awful. I as far as you didn't even see him, you were told, and it was some mysterious disease, and then then the funeral was it.
Yeah,
You couldn't even have him go out on a shield, man.
Yeah,
this is T'Challa. This is the king. Look at what he's done. He helped save the universe. He helped save the world.
we'll definitely talk about the funeral scene here in a second. But Mexican Iron Man, let me go and get your thoughts. Do you think that they should have recast T'Challa, or do you think that they made the right decision here? What was your thoughts on that?
I didn't have an opinion on it until Halloween, and I'll tell you what changed my mind about the recast or not about the character. I was watching a live stream by a guy named Snowdub Entertainment. He does puppets and stuff like that on his channel. He's a very good friend of mine, and he live streamed about 5 hours of trick-or-treaters, and I saw 4 or 5 white kids dressed up as Black Panther, and when I saw that, then it stuck. Like I was watching it, and it was just the whole stream was heartwarming as hell, because there's, with all the things going on in the world, just the beauty of kids and Halloween. And I saw 4 or 5 kids, and every single one of them was white, little white boys, dressed up as Black Panther, and it stuck me right there. And I already knew what was going to happen in the movie, because being part of Midnight's Edge and everything. And I said, oh my God, they should have recast this guy, because it dawned on me. I remember back to when Tony Stark was killed off, Love You 3000, all that stuff. Yeah. I have a problem with 2 things, and they're the same things that Paulie said. I think they could have honored him way better. And there's other movies that have done similar stuff. I mean, you Fast and the Furious, our Ghostbusters movie that we saw last year. There are ways to do it if you want to do the reference. And I just felt like it was the event. I think it was bad for the character, and I think it was truly insincere to bookend an emotional time. They wanted to emotionally grab you at the beginning, and they wanted to make sure when you went out the door, you didn't think that the movie sucked. But I saw through all of this stuff, and I think I love Black Panther. I paid to see it 3 times myself. I
Yeah, the
went by
first one,
myself.
obviously.
I went by myself at a local cinema in San Bernardino. Then I said, "Hey, you guys got to see this." So I took my brother, my sister, my 2 nephews and nieces, and my mom. So then I took 5 of us, and then I saw it again when I got back from California. I love that movie. I thought it was great, and it was. I think it was really, really well done. I know a lot of people have a lot of problems with it, but I found it very inspiring, and I found it very creative, and I really enjoyed it. And that's kind of, despite how ranty I got this weekend. Um, I mean, it is one of my 3 or 4 favorite Marvel movies of all, however many there've been.
All right, Obi, are you there now? I think you were having a bit of an issue earlier. I think Obi might still. No, that we just lost him on there. So let me go ahead. I was going to go ahead and ask you the same question.
Yeah, I was just going to say, look, I am the exact opposite. I'm a pretty harsh critic on anything Marvel. So I'll say this: Black Panther is probably one of the better made Marvel movies. But like, I had no expectations coming into this one. You would think that Marvel, who has specialized in these setting up future movies, the the mid-end credit scene, whatever, that they would pay a little bit more respect and have a better send-off for one of their key figures, at least how it's sold in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And it just felt incredibly underwhelming. And like, oh, we got to take this garbage out and get it out of the way so we can move on with our movie. So I think for anybody that's a Black Panther fan, it's a big slap in the face. But yeah, I mean, just coming into this movie, I had very little expectation of it being good. But you hope that it at least gives the fans something.
Now, Rick, you're obviously the biggest Black Panther fan here on the panel today. So, same question to you. What did you think about this? Oh, yeah. By the way, he's wearing the shirt of a minor league baseball team for El Paso who did their own promotion for Black Panther, which makes it just slightly even more cringe than he's doing now. But...
Wait, does that say Chihuahua?
Yeah, it's the Chihuahua.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah, thank you.
I want that shirt.
Don't encourage him.
Don't encourage him. That's not what this.
I would have said recast. I was always on the recast side of the ledger. The issue is that Chadwick Boseman became so identified with the role, and he personally became so beloved. You have to remember, there were people who were literally crying when he lost Best Actor for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and they were saying, "This is the last chance. We have to honor him." They were just angry at Anthony Hopkins and taking out their anger on him, acting like
like he children or something.
Like this 84-year-old Welshman deliberately assassinated or injected him with the cancer that killed him. It was just an absurdity. The issue that they had is whether to recast the part or try to work his death into the film. They should have recast the part. It's not the first time that they've recast parts, even of living people. We had Don Cheadle take Terrence Howard's place. We had Mark Ruffalo take Edward Norton's place, and now we're going to have Harrison Ford take William Hurt's place because William Hurt died, and you don't hear people bemoaning that. They should have recast the part, and I think my question is, what did Boseman himself think? I think he leaned into the recast my part because I won't be able to do any more films. But too many people were just so enraptured with the memory of Chadwick Boseman that they said, no, we can't. It's too sacrosanct. It's too sacred. We have to put it in. And then they put it into the movie, and I don't think it worked as well as they thought it would be. I keep hearing the stories about how people were crying at the movie at the beginning and at the end. I didn't hear anyone cry. I've yet to meet a person who literally cried at any part.
You never met Kevin Smith?
No, I've never had that privilege.
He died a long time ago.
Yeah. By the way, just a quick
Just the
little side
memes
rant.
that we
I did see Clerks 3 on the plane, and it's probably the worst one of the three, and that's saying something. So
I've never seen
Uh,
any, so
yeah, you're not you're not missing anything there. So let's kind of talk about it in more detail the scene in question here. So at the very
Didn't
beginning
ask
of the
me.
movie, well, I mean, there's a reason. No,
Hey, but white people gotta sit this one out, okay?
What am I, chopped liver?
Wow.
White people
I've been
gotta
kicked
sit
out
this
of
one
better
out,
establishments than
Orange
this.
Hat. Come on.
we only included the Mexicans whole or partial.
Mhm.
This
Well,
is
go
this
ahead.
is
I'll let
Um,
you and Johnson in because we should let the women talk too. So,
as long as you promise to stop me if I get too rambly.
oh yeah, we do.
Okay, thanks.
Rambling.
Oh, have I shown you guys the CS Johnson button? Whenever she gets too rambly, I just hit the.
Shut up! Oh my god, I don't care!
So yeah, whenever she goes on too long, just
I'm gonna put that on your shirt, Jacob. Okay.
Go ahead real quick, Orange Chat.
But honestly, they should have recast. One of the things that they even didn't really understand about Chadwick Boseman is that one of the things that he kind of found was very cringeworthy was the constant crossing of the arms and saying Wakanda forever. He
Yeah.
found that to actually be kind of just tedious. He actually
Patronizing a little
admitted that. When people were always going, hey, Wakanda forever, he's like, yeah, Wakanda forever. He found it annoying after a while.
Yeah.
But when he died, oh my god, I can remember when when I was streaming, a friend of mine's like, Chadwick Boseman just died. I'm like, what? And it's funny. It's like they could have easily come up with a different actor to play him because they have no I mean, Marvel recasted so many different people. I mean, I honestly don't know what they're thinking putting in Harrison Ford for Thunderbolt Ross, but you know, you do what you do. But Chadwick Boseman, they should have kept the Black Panther as Black Panther instead of making it Black Panther Women Forever. I mean, Wakanda Forever.
Yeah. Just in case you guys don't know what you're seeing on screen, that is the fictional coffin for T'Challa in the movie that they created just for the opening scene there.
Which
so,
is pure irony.
yeah. Go ahead.
It wasn't
Johnson.
made of vibranium, folks. It was made of iron. Knee.
Okay, so having seen the movie, I have evolved from my original position, which is I forget.
Kill Ezra Miller.
I was actually gonna say, this scene would have been so perfect if it had been for the Flash movie. But okay, so I originally said that they could recast him and that would be fine, or they could go this way, but it would have to be good. And I think that, like, having seen the movie, I was like, okay, the way I would have done it probably is I wouldn't have killed him. I would have just had him in battle somehow, maybe fighting off some like vibranium scavengers, and instead of killing him off though, like in the comics, they put him in stasis to heal him. And then like Shuri takes on the Black Panther role for a while to kind of hold over the position, I guess, while he's healing, recuperating in stasis. So I wouldn't have killed him off, but I can see where if you can write it good, which is probably the part that like nobody did, you can write it good and it would have been fine like that. And then you could have had a third movie where you recasted him after enough time has passed where more people were more in control of their emotional responses.
Yeah. So. OB, can you hear us now? I know we just got your audio there for a second.
Yeah, can y'all hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you good now.
All right, cool.
All right, then. So let me just ask you a quick question here. Do you think they should have recast T'Challa, or were you fine with how they handled it in the film?
I'm fine how they did in the film. I wasn't too crazy about all the recast stuff and everybody all up in arms about that. I think them not recasting him was just out of respect for the actor, and for the role, because that role that they kind of had that role so strong, and Marvel does their characters very, very strong. So I kind of understood why they didn't do it. For people talking about Thunderbolt Ross, he's not really a super important character right now. He's not really on screen all that much, so I understand why they recasted him. For the Incredible Hulk, they had so many movies and they were messing up those movies so bad. I understood the recasting for that. Now they're probably not going to recast Hulk anymore after this. Just like they're not going to recast Chris Evans as Captain America. They're not going to do any of that. So I understood why they didn't recast the role for right now.
Okay. I want to ask Paulie and Iron Man this because I know we got limited time on you guys. So I want to make sure you get this point across. We'll get back into the Black Panther stuff in a second, but I want to ask you guys specifically about Namor. Now, I know, Paulie, you were obviously very excited about Namor's casting in the film leading up to it. And then when I kind of heard your initial reaction of the film and how much like you didn't like the way that they played it out, I really wanted to get you on here to see what exactly is it that you were expecting and versus what they did. So obviously, Namor was cast in the film by I cannot pronounce his name for the life of me.
Tenoch Huerta.
Thank you. Yeah, I didn't want to butcher it while I have a bunch of Hispanics here on the show with me, but so obviously he's kind of portrayed as he's supposed to be the antagonist in the story. This is about essentially his village going to war with Wakanda, and from a story perspective, I felt like they were trying to make him an antagonist, but they were all trying to make him sympathetic as well, which kind of put the movie in a position where you really didn't have a protagonist going into it because of the absence of Black Panther, and then trying to sympathize with him, you really didn't have an antagonist either, which led a lot to be desired within the storytelling perspective. But specifically on the character of Neymar going into this, what was your thoughts going into the film, and then what do you think about the execution of the character? I'll start with Paulie.
Up until I saw the a scene that they had dropped, like an acting scene they had dropped, I had been for over a year excited about this casting because I'm a big Tenoch Huerta fan. I have been. I love his films. I didn't what. So there was a couple things that I was like, well. I had a couple of early red flags. It's like I know he can act.
Mm-hmm.
I know he can be a menacing, alpha male like he was in Narcos Mexico.
Yeah.
If you guys haven't seen it, see that season 1 with him and Diego Luna. You'll see what I mean. So he had that down, but I was like, man, Tenoch has always been, kind of just like kind of a doughy guy, and Namor is.
Yeah,
he's like this beautiful specimen coming out of the water, just just
exactly.
Like, right.
Even from like a normie's perspective, he's supposed to be like Marvel's equivalent to Aquaman, even though he technically came first. So
right, so that was like, okay, well, I can overlook that because I know he's a great actor. But when I saw so I'd been covering this for like a while on the channel. Like I do with any of our Latino, movie stars and directors that are like making headway. I'm just covering it, And when I saw that scene that they dropped where he jumps out of the water and he talks to Angela Bassett, I'm like, oh my God, this sucks.
So you're saying that they made him underwhelming?
Well, here's what's okay. There's so many things I did not expect, guys. I did not expect that it was going to be filmed poorly.
Yes, extremely poorly.
And that scene really shows how poorly it was filmed. It looked like a play at your high school where they're like, hit your mark, look over your shoulder, talk to the actor, I will film you.
Yeah.
Like it was literally that. And then Tenoch's then Tenoch can speak better English than that, and I don't know what they had him doing with this accent, where it was like over enunciated, and then he
Yeah.
sounded like gargling marbles. He's acted in other movies in English, Forever Purge. I mean, he still has an accent, but his flow in English, it's pretty good.
He sounded like Razor Ramon trying to do a fake Cuban accent. Have you ever seen those old promos, like from way back in the day? It's like, yeah, I don't know if that was like, it sounded like maybe it was like a direction they were giving him with that character. But
It's like a good actor who thinks they can achieve any accent, and they do,
Yeah.
like Oscar Isaac doing Moon Knight.
yeah,
And people thought his Cockney accent was horrible. And he's a great actor.
hmm
So yeah, those are my big problems. That being said, he did have some good scenes. He was able to elevate in a few scenes. I thought some of the scenes with him and Shuri were, once she was down in Talocan. There were some interesting moments there, but a lot of missed opportunities as far as where they could have taken that relationship. Because he also, too, guys, with Namor, he's a ladies' man. He takes women, like that's his thing. So that would have been really interesting.
Mike,
It's the wings, man.
It's the wings,
It's
right?
the way-
Yeah. And then finally, how he was literally he was neutered, man. He was clipped. They clipped his wings.
yeah, well,
He
we're
took
gonna
the knee. I mean, it was
we're gonna have to talk about that ending in good detail there. But Mike, do you kind of agree with what Paulie says there? What was kind of your thoughts about how the way they portrayed him in the film?
Well, I knew what he was going to look like going in, and I was pretty bummed out about that. I think for me, what was striking is that, I mean, there's just a lot of things just from a cultural standpoint, and maybe I'm a little hypersensitive. My Twitter handle is Mike Canole, SJ San Jose, which is where I'm from. Canole is my name. It's indigenous. It goes back all the way to the Yucatan Peninsula. It's actually a Mayan word. You can Google it, and I think it's on my it's on a note on my YouTube channel. But translated means "he that protects." I don't know. So going in, there's just so many things. Like if they're like from that region, and the Wakandans are from Africa, does anyone think for 2 seconds how much ocean that is to cover for this like great battle?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just like, seriously? I'm like, I mean, then why are my people blue? I don't know. I mean, there's just so many things.
Because
like
Avatar 2 is coming out in a couple of months.
Bro,
That's why.
can I just tell you, I said this on a live stream the other day. I'll repeat it here because it's not in my rant. If I'm James Cameron, and who works for Fox, that works for Disney, right? And this movie's like, Marvel works for Disney. If I were James Cameron, I'd be like, dudes, what up? My movie's coming out next month. We've been waiting for blue people in the water for 12 years. Hook a brother up. They clipped him too. And then I look at the weaponry they gave my people got done dirty. We got like water balloons as weapons. I'm like, really? I'm like, look, I've been a mischievous kid. I remember being at this apartment complex we used to live in when I was a kid. We're on like 5th story. Dude, I dropped one of those on my brother, and it blew up. He got all wet, but he got all wet. That's it. He didn't like, ah! You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, my people got water balloon bombs, and then when they like blew them up underneath the ship, I'm like, wait a minute. The water's blowing up in the water underneath the ship that's on the water. There's no impact here.
Water bombs. You don't think the water bombs?
No. I mean, dude, it's just, oh my God. And then how come my people, and obviously this was filmed during COVID. How's my blue people, my blue Mayan ancestors, why do they wear a COVID shell mask on their face? I mean, supposedly they got to breathe out of water, whatever, but it's just, I'm just like, okay, that's a COVID shell mask. I'm like, okay, yeah, no, that's just, that's, no.
But what was very confusing about it is that, some of the characters were wearing it when they were on the land because I guess, okay, well, that's their way that they can breathe like when they're on land. But then he turns around and gives one of them to Shuri. And I'm like, well, Shuri can breathe on land. So wouldn't that have the adverse effect on her, letting her use?
Yes, my friend. Yes, exactly.
Man of Steel logic.
And then look, I mean, and I just saw this scene like, hold on, let me
But
grab
you know,
Yes,
as
it was
Mike's
good.
getting it,
let me get a prop here. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
we just saw Obi-Wan Kenobi, right? So here we have lightsaber, which right now will double as the series at the ending scene, right? I'm like, all right, we already saw like, Reva get stabbed. She manages to live. I mean, basically, like whether it's a lightsaber or any other weapon, like nothing ever happens to anybody, and I don't know why. Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now? Hello?
Yeah,
We
we
got
can.
you.
Yeah,
lost you for a
yeah.
second.
Yeah,
You're frozen though.
yeah, you're
Well,
frozen, but we
nothing
can
ever
hear you.
happens to anybody because there are 5-year-olds in the
Uh-oh.
audience. I was surrounded by children when I went. So,
Were they like running around screaming during the whole time?
no. But it was still really discouraging. I wouldn't let my kids see this, and my kids are older than that. Well,
So, what would you have done if you could have done the fight choreography? How would you have portrayed that?
you talking to me?
Come on. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
you're the
okay.
one that brought it up.
Yes, colonizer.
Yes.
Oh,
Colin.
okay. Well, like 30's better with technology, and I mean, like short of a whole rewrite, I honestly don't see this film being good. I said in the chat I wanted Riri to be the villain. The villain. I think that would have been much better.
Would have given her
So,
something
Well,
That
to
would have been
do.
so cool.
I feel
Is
like
that her
Moonlight
character's name? That's her
Yes,
character's name, or
Riri,
that's the
yeah.
Riri
actress?
Williams. No,
Okay,
Riri
Yeah.
Williams. It's the actual.
That's the
character's
character's name, Riri.
Yes.
Correct.
yeah.
Riri.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
her
Yeah.
code name is Ironheart when she's in the suit.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, a
Oh,
suit
did I
that
scare
had
you?
cornrows in the helmet.
We'll get
Well,
to
like
that.
one of the things that, like in general, this comic suffers from is that African American culture versus African culture is very different. So,
Mhm.
and
Yes.
I just don't think they did a very good job with addressing
Well,
that.
I imagine that they did Namur, and it's curious that it was pronounced that way exactly once by El Cucuy. I'm sorry, when he called himself Kukulkan, I was like, did he call himself El Cucuy? It's like I would have bought that better.
No, that's Tony Ferguson. That doesn't count.
but I imagine that was done in a way to honor and respect Mesoamericans, and that would be us, the Hispanics. Hey, at least Namor, and everyone called him Namor afterwards. I called him Namor.
That's his name.
Yes, but no, it's Namor because he burned down some hacienda, and that's how some
Boy without love.
Yes, a boy without love.
Sin amor.
Cinnamor, which
Yeah.
almost sounds like cinnamon. But
Right?
I
Or
guess
say
that
no
was
more.
that was a way to try to honor and have their inclusion for Hispanics. We should be first thankful that they didn't call us Latinx, because then I would have just run up to the screen and pulled it down.
I had a bet going on, Rick, that they were going to put that word in there.
Oh golly, I'm glad they didn't. But
Is there gender under the ocean though? Does that exist?
Well, when they come up, then like, Martin, like Julie Lewis or whatever, they say, hey, look, it's Latinx fishman.
So yeah, I think that was their way to try to rationalize it, and I don't know, it wasn't the worst thing for me, except for when they were down in Talocan. When Shuri's down there are two things. First, it's the only time he ever cracked a joke or seemed to break character from being this kind of grumpy figure. And secondly, maybe I'm the only one who thought this, but when I was watching it, I just said, Shuri looks like the little squirrel from SpongeBob SquarePants in that outfit. She looks like Sandy Cheeks. All she needed was just a little flower in her helmet. So I was not impressed, and this is the first time I've seen Tenoch. I've never seen him in any movie that I
Really?
can remember. Yeah.
Didn't see the Forever Purge last year?
No, I've never seen any of those.
Yeah.
So
I'll send you a list of films for you to see if you want.
But let's not get into this, because we got into a huge fight a couple of weeks ago about him not seeing any of the Halloween movies before he saw the last one, And it nearly broke the entire group when we talked about Rick's viewing habits.
Well, he's
I
an
regret
intellectual.
defending that.
You know, he's academia. He's showing off his his degree.
can
I
I-
like that about
Oh,
this.
no, that's not my degree. That's my season seat holder of the game plaque.
Ándale. I was trying to make you look good.
Sorry. Anyway,
He won't let it.
Yeah, it was ultimately it was a way to try to have that Mesoamerican Hispanic connection, where I don't think it really worked because with the accent thing, I think it was just kind of a way to signal, oh, this is a Hispanic, and we're going to honor you by giving him a certain style of speaking, which is curious because. I think none of us have an accent. In fact, I'm probably more waspy than anyone, so my accent is not anywhere near what would be the cliched accent. So I don't know. All I can tell you is that I was not particularly overwhelmed with Namor.
Well, so let me ask you this. Let's get into kind of the central conflict of this film here. So what happens is that obviously the first 5 minutes, Black Panther is dead, so there's no more King of Wakanda at the moment. So you have this whole conflict with Wakanda and these other nations because Wakanda is still pretty much hoarding their massive stockpile of vibranium from the world, and they've put on record saying that we're not going to share it with any of you guys, and if you guys try to come in here and steal it, then we're going to take that as an act of war, right? So that was kind of the whole scene with the UN. So now, just real quick, I'm gonna finish. And then essentially what happened is that I think it was like the CIA or one of the intelligence agencies, they're like, okay, well, if Wakanda's not gonna give us vibranium, we're gonna go find our own. So they go scooping into the bottom of the ocean somewhere near Namor's land. And they find some vibranium in the bottom of the ocean. And it's like, okay, let's go ahead and mine this thing. We don't have to deal with Wakanda anymore. And almost immediately, they get attacked by all the blue people, as Mike put it lightly here. So Namor and all his group comes and they essentially attack the entire group that was there. They kill everyone. There's like 30 people there. They kill everyone and wipe everyone out. So then he goes to Wakanda and he tells them that, hey, you guys put us at risk because you exposed vibranium to the rest of the world. So now they're coming after us. So you need to ally with us against the rest of the world to prevent them from getting their hands on vibranium. And if you don't do so, then we'll go after you guys first before we go after everybody else. So that's essentially what you have is the main conflict of the movie here. So here's my problem with the setup here. Maybe you guys can tell me different. I want OB to speak on this one first. Is that essentially the complaint for that Namor has with Wakanda is that, okay, you guys exposed vibranium to the rest of the world. You put us in danger as a result of that. But what happened was that, well, you guys attacked the intelligence agency who didn't even know you guys were even there. So had you not attacked them and killed 30 of them, then they probably still wouldn't have known that you were there because am I just supposed to assume that Namor's group controls the entire ocean? Because they don't think they exactly specified like where they were drilling for vibranium in the first place. But the idea is now, okay, now they're just looking for vibranium anywhere. And that in fact is going to eventually lead to us being exposed and us being at obviously being vulnerable to the attacks of the West. That's kind of the theme that they started off with. So, Obi, what did you think about the way that they set up the conflict for this one? Did you think that was the right way to set it up? Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I didn't mind the whole setup. And that's why he's the antagonist. I know like the way that they were describing him, like the Black Panther movies have a really good job of setting up really, really good villains and making them feel like they matter. Because what they're doing is it's morally right, but the way they go about it is not. It's just very, very extremist. So I didn't really mind it. Like when I went into the movie, I thought they were going to do some Doctor Doom type stuff, and then when I saw that they were actually going with him being a actual villain, I'm like, okay, like I wasn't really like I wasn't really expecting it for real, but I understood why they did it. And it's just them just being extreme, because like when they start killing people and stuff like that, we understand why they did it, but do you really have to kill all these people just for for them to not take the vibranium? Like, I understand that you're trying to get a message across, but is that the right way to do it? And so that's where you had that dynamic there that I understood.
Yeah, so obviously, Mike, you had dropped out there for a second. So we were talking about the setup of the premise of the movie, which is Namor's people attacking the group that was looking for the vibranium in the ocean, which kind of jumpstarts the whole conflict. Did you have an issue with, I guess, the setup or the premise of the film? Because that's pretty much.
Well,
the
I
only
think
real
I
story you
missed
had
something
here.
pretty major when he says, "My enemies call me Namor." I'm like, what enemies did we have at that point? I thought no one knew about the blue fish people, and I thought they were in an unknown area underneath the water. And I thought the last time they had enemies, which we find out in the movie, were like the Spanish conquistador, or what do we call them, colonizers, that they wiped out. Like, he comes across the beach, they wipe them all out. So what enemies are left to call him Namor? Unless
he's probably ran into Porfirio Diaz at some point, and still bitter about that.
Real quick, before I let Obi respond to that one, Mike? Were you the one who brought up the fact that during like his whole expedition, when he's talking about like his backstory, and they called him like the man without love? Were you the one that complained about how they didn't make any sense? I remember somebody very recently had just brought that up, right? I think it was Paulie. Okay.
Polly.
Well, yeah, we'll go into that one real quick now. I'll let Obi respond to that point about how you were saying how his whole setup is that he's a man without love, but it's like, wasn't he raised like by a mother and the whole like community? And when I said, how was he without love if that was the case?
And a father, but the father got no action.
Apparently.
Yeah, we don't know who the father is, of course.
Why would we? He's a minority dude, right?
Right. And the story right there.
I can say that because I was raised by a single mother. That's my little
same
daughter.
here. Same here.
So was I. Yep. It's still funny.
So, he comes back up to the surface world to bury his mom.
Yeah.
Right. Which I find was odd. Like, why would she want to be buried? Why would she? But that's another story, right?
Yeah,
okay.
I think they tried to say that it was her wish to.
It was her wish.
Yeah,
I mean, so many, just dumb. This is what I'm talking about. People are like, "Oh, well, you're nitpicking, Paul." That's not a nitpick. It's called a plot hole.
Mm-hmm.
It's called an omission or an addition that makes no sense. Like, so the Wokoso math is like, "Oh, well, you're nitpicking because makes us feel like this, and it's representation, right?" That's Wokoso math. All right. Or woke math, but I like saying wokoso. But society, man, he goes up there and then he torches the place. Right? Frees, I guess, more Mayan slaves. Where did they go? Did he come with us? I know I have a better place.
No.
Yeah.
It was just like, no, it was bad because they were colonizers. Then he freed them, but they didn't. And it was also funny because we were talking about this too, how we just saw the Woman King a couple of months before this when that woman's really back. I think it was Portuguese colonizers, I guess you call them. And that one says like there's a lot of parallels between the Woman King and basically the Black Panther universe. And I'm not sure if it's for the better, but yeah, you definitely spot a lot.
The Portuguese got around. My girlfriend is Portuguese Brazilian, and she will tell you, but just like the Spanish, they will tell you like all the things they've contributed and how it became a mixed culture over the last 500 years. So, but they don't want to talk about that. And we don't live 500 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Well, are we going to get reparations for that?
Free tacos.
Yeah.
For life.
Well, you already got a Dodgers championship. We're not giving you any more than that.
Hey, oh.
Well said. Thank you for your leadership there, brother. Yes.
Oh, you be quiet, Mike. I got your hat somewhere over here. Anyways.
And I know OB did have a point that he wanted to bring up there. I think it was regarding the conflict in the film. You still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Like when he said like how many enemies, like we didn't see all his enemies, but like we just saw one type. Well, he's like they explained in the film that he's over 500 years old, so I'm pretty sure we're left to assume that he's been fighting a bunch of different people over 500 years. I'm pretty sure he wasn't just underwater chilling for 500 years not doing anything. This is a very, very angry person that doesn't want anybody near his shit. So I'm pretty sure he was beating random motherfuckers up for no
Yeah.
reason.
Well, I mean, he did like violently kill like 30 people right out of the gate. So I mean, I don't think that's much of an assumption as we just saw it. So
As a kid, mind you.
yeah.
And I'm impressed that they managed to have that siren song. That's how sirens came about, because they could just sing and everyone would just commit suicide. So you see, their enemies were the Trojans and the Greeks and the Romans, because obviously that they were luring all these ships. They were the original mermaids. That's what I understood, because when they start singing and said cover your ears, I figured, okay, so they're mermaids, mermen.
The siren song was to lure them toward the song itself, and they would
Yeah.
eventually either drown or crash or whatever.
Yes. Alrighty.
I know we're gonna be losing Mike and Paulie here.
I'm good
pretty
till
soon.
another 15 minutes. I'm good.
Okay. I just want to go on to the next part. I think this is one that we can all kind of touch up on. Is kind of the character of C.S. Johnson's favorite, Riri Williams, who plays Ironheart in the film. So look, it's called the setup. Let me get to it. So look, and if you know the history of the comic book, especially in the last 10 years, we kind of know what was coming with this character. This is a character that wasn't very well liked in the comic book community because of the way that she was portrayed. And the way she's portrayed in the comic books is that she's pretty much a sociopath. Now, if you recall, there was a scene in the film where she's talking to Shuri, and so for those of you who wonder why she's even in this film in the first place, the idea is that she created a device that can detect vibranium anywhere in the world, right? So she essentially helped the CIA find vibranium using her device, and now Namor wants to kill Riri, because he doesn't know that it's a teenage girl. He thinks that it's some kind of like CIA like scientist spook or whatever. But she's the one who's responsible for them finding the vibranium, so now they want her dead. So she's in this film, and she talks about how she made the device because one of her teachers said that, I bet you couldn't do it. There's no way that you can do it. And that kind of plays up to her origin in the comic books, where when she was like a very, very young girl, she's talking to a teacher, and I guess she wanted the teacher to say that she couldn't do something to give her motivation, but the teacher was like, well, no, you can do like whatever you want to. It's like, well, you telling me that I can do whatever I want doesn't give me any motivation to prove you wrong. So it's a very let's just say sociopathic tendency for someone who's supposed to be a little girl in the film. Now, the way that she's presented in the Marvel universe is that she's supposed to be one of the smartest people in Marvel, even as smart or even smarter than Tony Stark, as have gone on with a couple of times. What I didn't like about her character, and I'm pretty sure some of you guys didn't like it either, is that for someone who's supposed to be one of the smartest people in the Marvel Universe, she didn't speak like someone who was supposed to be one of the smartest people in the Marvel Universe. She's 19 years old in the film, but she doesn't talk like a normal 19-year-old girl would talk. She talks like... what's the best way I can describe this? I think I said it was Cassie a couple nights ago. Is that she sounds like someone did a recording of Cat Williams, and then they told you that person is the smartest person in the universe.
Wow!
Because every other word out of her mouth is like a swear or like a cuss. I'm thinking to myself, okay, I know what you're trying to go for, but this isn't the way to get to where you want it to go. It's only making you not like the character even more. And she's a big part of the movie. She ends up going to Wakanda, and they use the tech that they have over there to finish up her Iron Man suit that she built within a couple of years, because she's so smart. She built it with custom parts and junk parts and things of that nature. So let me just go ahead and then start with Mike, and I'm going to go around here. What was your thoughts of Riri in the film as Ironheart? Did she meet your expectations, or
no? I thought the suit was lame. I found it. I think there's a lot. Look, even if you wanted this character to win, I really think introducing her. I definitely agree with your complete assessment about the accent. So I'm just gonna, the way of speaking and all that. I'm just gonna agreed. For me, when she came out in the opening scene, is she helps a white boy, pass his test exam. I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just so many more ways that you could show bright, intelligent young female at a place like MIT than selling, cheat codes for code, selling code for as a cheat for, money on the side.
Breaking the
If
law.
she's that brilliant,
essentially.
I mean, there's just a lot of the things. I mean, if she's that brilliant, she's got a full ride scholarship. I mean, I've been on Ivy League type campuses. I graduated from Stanford. I just found it offensive. Like we got to go up and show, like opening salvo. I'm smarter than the white guy. He's got to pay me $1,000 because the price went up for $100 for his test, so he can get some code. I mean, come on. They could have showed her with a good heart helping somebody that's having, tutoring kids. They could have showed her basically, showing, her brains or intelligence, maybe winning an award for something, a discovery or, anything, even something amongst her peers, showing that respect. No, she's got to basically come up and, like a dime bag, hustle code, on the campus, like it's, the street corner. I mean, I just found it. I'm from East San Jose. I may have graduated from Stanford, but I am from the hood. And I just found it like a very disrespectful way to show that this is someone, if you want to portray intelligent, young minority female, I found it that is a poor way to introduce her in the first 2 minutes.
Okay, I want to jump in here if that's okay.
Well, hold on, because I know Paulie's gonna have to go.
Okay.
Here
I gotta go, guys.
I do want to give you a chance. If you have anything that you want to promote, I want to give you the floor before we get ready here. So.
Oh yeah, to promote this Wednesday. First of all, thank you so much for letting me come on, and let's do it again. Give me a move. You guys did Weird Science, man. Come on.
Yeah.
Weird. You go from Weird Science to this, right, Mike?
Yeah.
That mustache is Weird Science.
You know what, Mike? We're gonna. But so thank you. Please subscribe to everyone here on the panel. And this Wednesday, we will be doing a live fundraiser on my channel for an animal shelter. It's our third annual that we've been working with this animal shelter, and we hope to get them some money. They always need it, so that's the one thing I want to promote.
All right, then. Like
That's
I said,
beautiful.
definitely. I need to get you back on either for a podcast or for a movie night. I know we will be bringing back movie nights here in the next few weeks once we're done with football season, because we need some good movies on our panel. Even some bad movies that are just so good they're still entertaining. Because some of these new releases are just killing us. And just a side note, I can get
Sure, and sports wise, we watch every USC fight, so we know all the fighters. So if you ever want to.
Oh yeah, we did a fight night this Saturday. I gotta get you back for the next one. December.
Adesanya, man, unreal. Okay, guys, take care.
All right. Take care.
Larry,
Good to
take
meet
care.
you.
Thanks, Paulie, for
All right,
joining us.
bro.
Man.
Peace.
All right, real quick. I already know what Johnson's going to say here, but I do want to get OB's. I want to get OB's take on this character, because, like I said, you're dealing with a character that, from the comics perspective, not a lot of people really liked her going into it, because a lot of people just see her as kind of a tokenized version of Iron Man. Did you? What was your thoughts on her portrayal in this film? Did you have a different take on the way that she was portrayed, or do you have any issues following her character, I guess?
Yeah, like I do have to agree that she was very, very stereotypical ghetto type black chick that they put in there. I don't know how she is in the comics. I didn't read her comic book. But yeah, I did find it very, very weird that they would go with that route. I think they were trying to make her likable, in a sense. Like they were trying to make her kind of uneasy feeling, and then trying to bring her up to speed, and trying to give her, like, make her more likable as the film went on, which they did. But I did feel like it was very, very stereotypical how they made it, and they kind of try to make it like this is how Wakanda is, like Wakanda black folks in Africa are, and this is how American black folks are. And you definitely saw the dynamic, but not all black Americans act like Riri Williams. I'm sorry, like this news flash.
I feel like their problem, especially with the writers here, is that they want to portray a character a certain way, but they don't know how to portray that character in a way that's realistic. If you look back at the first Black Panther film with Shuri, because they were trying to portray her the same way that they portrayed Riri in this film, is that she's the super smart scientist of Wakanda. She can do a whole bunch of things that other scientists can't do because they don't have the technology of doing. But then you see her, they write her terrible scenes where they have her doing like the "what are those" jokes that just completely out of place with like the film. You see her when she's like with her brother, and like those scenes are fine because they're actually like building a connection with a family member, actually building character. But then a lot of other scenes just kind of like, well, you're kind of undercutting the message that you're trying to sell here with the film. So Rob, what was your thoughts on well, actually let me get to Johnson, because I did cut her off when she was going to say something there. So
Okay. So like, just introducing Riri, if you wanted to make her a villain, it would be better. I mean, it's not even a villain in the sense of like it could be like a really bad villain, okay?
Yeah.
It's just that you could pit her against Shuri so much better than Shuri against Namor or Namor or whatever. I
Yeah.
can't roll my R's, sorry. Um,
God.
but I have written books where I've had to introduce terribly egotistical characters. Okay, that's my flagship series, and I actually have an introduction of my minority brilliant scientist lady character in my One Flu series, which is it's steampunk fantasy romance set in the 1880s. But to introduce her, you have a more likable person just fall under her spell. So I think that this, like, if they had introduced her with the guy that she did the homework for and stuff, as like just fawning over her, even that would have been so much better than having them be so combative against each other.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, I needed the help, and and you're just so brilliant. I mean, it would have been funny to me, or at least more endearing in that sense. Is like, oh, look at that, he's got a cute little crush on this girl that's way out of his league, clearly. That's much more softer of an introduction to her, and it would kind of fit too with her because she's like from the comics, she's a loner. She's like Jacob said, she's more sociopathic and stuff. So it would be kind of much better introduction of her character if you were going to keep her as a good person. So
let me ask you guys this. I'll let Orange and Rob answer this one. This is a character, the way she's been presented, who's better off being a bad guy than a good guy. I would say a heel for pro wrestling fans out there listening to this, because the way that she should be portrayed, especially if you're going to play the smart angle, she should be a character who's smarter than everyone, and she knows it, and she's arrogant, and she's like so just completely like in herself because she knows that she can do things that other people can't do. I think that's really the right way that she should be portrayed in the comic books and in a film like this. It's like she should be just a cocky, arrogant young woman.
She should have caused T'Challa's death with her machine.
Oh my gosh, that's dark.
That would have been actually a good twist.
That's a good idea.
It would have made more sense than what they gave us, which was no explanation.
And then
whatsoever.
she has to take up the mantle somehow.
Well, like so Wakanda won't share its vibranium, right? So she's pissed at this because she's lost people, and she wants to build the Iron Man suit because she wants to protect people that she loves, the very few people that she's capable of loving. And she feels like she failed in doing this to her family members that were killed, and her best friend Nicole or something, right? So that's from the comics. You could have had this great scene of dealing with grief over that. She is grieved by the loss of her family, so she wants to build the ultimate Iron Man suit because he was the ultimate hero, and she wants to be just like him. So she sets out to do it, and her machine wakes up Namor, and T'Challa goes down, and the CIA guys are like freaking out, and he goes down there, and they kill him because they think he's responsible. And then Shuri has to deal with her grief, so T'Challa gets his meaningful death. Riri becomes the villain that has kind of an understandable, if tragic, motivation, and then Shuri has to rise up to defeat her. And this whole plot is centered on their conflict of what's best for the world versus what's best for me.
I'll raise you one even better than that. Remember in the very early part of the film, we talked about it earlier, where Wakanda's sitting there with all the UN people, like France and like another country that was there, and they're
Yeah.
making this big like decoration when they wheeled in like the mercenaries that came in and tried to take the vibranium, and they're like kneeling them down and showing them off to the rest of the world, saying that you're not going to get our vibranium, and if you ever try to come and get our vibranium, we're going to take that as an act of war. That should have been the scene where you transition from that scene right there. So you show Riri on television, watching this take place on television, and boom, that's the motivation that she has right there to be like, oh, so no one's gonna come to Wakanda and get any of your vibranium. You're just gonna declare essentially war on the rest of the world. Okay, let's go forward with this. That should have been the motivation for her character in this story whatsoever. But the problem is that they want this character to be likable. They don't want to take a character like this and make them a villain, someone who the audience is supposed to hate. Even though if you're a great villain, audiences are still going to love you if people believe in what you believe in. Look at Killmonger. People like Killmonger. Why? Because he's a strong villain. You could have done that with Riri, but like I said, it's a teenage girl, a young black girl, and they want her to be likable. They don't want her to be betrayed as an antagonist. So we're going to force it to go in this direction, even though you already have an outlet in the other direction that works far better for the character. Rob,
I like
what do you
it.
think there?
Yeah, well, they also are doing the actual show on Disney Plus, so we don't know any of her backstory just yet.
Yeah, well, we do know there's a lot of LGBTQ people cast.
Oh my goodness!
So yeah, there's a lot. So get ready for that one.
No, I just want to jump in here real quick and say, like, I don't know much about this character. Certainly, you can go the egotistical route, and then have it buttressed by young people don't know anything. Young people, no matter how talented they are, no matter how smart they are, they lack experience. And the great thing you can have is sort of her be like, "Oh, I was wrong. I'm grieving. I'm." There's a conflict point instead of it being this super duper great at everything, smart at everything kind of asshole who no one likes. So
that's
there's a lot of
pretty much
different ways you can go.
Yeah, but that's pretty much a lot of Gen Z. I mean, that's how they see themselves, as super smart, and morally and intellectually superior to all generations that have come prior. Well, I don't have much to add on Riri, because first off, I thought they named the character Riri in honor of Rihanna, who did the song. That is how unaware. That is how unaware I am of this character.
This is our boomer warning, I guess.
No, it's a Gen Xer warning.
I actually get that video ready too.
I actually thought that's why they named the character Riri. But the problem that I had with Riri is that I found her very obnoxious and unrealistic, in the sense that you've got the princess of Wakanda, and you've got the Dora Milaje leader here, and she reacts like, oh well, I'm going to talk back to you, almost stereotypical. And all of these situations where she's being chased by the CIA or what have you, she's like, oh well, why are they chasing me? Because you built this machine that the CIA. You would have thought the CIA would have protected her if she had built this machine for them, but that's neither here nor there at the moment. She's not taking these situations seriously, and all of this. Oh well, don't drink when they're in Talocan. Don't drink that. That's supervillain crap. I mean, I'm going. Come on, take this a little more serious. Second, she disappears for long stretches of the film. So I didn't see why she was necessary, except as a MacGuffin, as the plot device to get things rolling. If I had been Queen Ramulda, I would have just said, you know what, no more, take this bitch and just do whatever you want with her. I want nothing to do with her. She's annoying me. Yeah, get rid of her. I don't know why we were protecting her. Like, I would have protected her. I would have said, you know what? Yeah, no more. Here you go. Kill her off, and we'll see you at we'll see you at the next convention of supervillains or superheroes or what have you. She was irrelevant. She was irrelevant, and she was annoying. And if you're going to just put her in here, I felt she was shoehorned in so that you could get the Ironheart television series started. So they're turning Wakanda Forever into a trailer for a TV show. That's what I felt about Riri. And yes, I did think about Rihanna, and she's going to win an Oscar for this movie. So just for the record.
Okay, that's enough boomer talk out of him.
Well,
Orange Hat,
real quick, I want to highlight just real quick that do anyone notice the scene when the police came in, and they surrounded them, and Okoye said something about the popo.
Yes, I was. Okoye would not use that term. She would not be familiar with that term, and I was like,
I think Riri made mention of it.
No, I don't remember. I mean, she did, but it's really strange. It's like, where's Medea? Where she's coming around? You're gonna call the popo ho? I mean, that's what Gabe and I thought of. The first thing is like, call the popo ho.
Hold up, did you just call her Medea?
No.
Did you not hear the point where we say he's the boomer of the group? It was like, of course he called him Medea.
That's the real MCU for me, the Medea cinematic universe.
Okay, this is black tokenism.
So
that's all it is.
Hey, go ahead, Orange.
I was rooting for Okoye to take up the
one thing that I noticed about Riri Williams was they did a lot of copy and paste of Iron Man 1 with her introduction. Yes, she's a genius. The one thing I also, because I was at the theater the day ahead doing for a pre-screening, and there were black people in the theater and whatnot. Some of them were actually quite pissed off with how Riri was basically a stereotypical character or negative stereotypical.
Yeah,
it's like she's hustling a guy for a freaking code and whatnot. Then she's just it's like she grows up in the hood. She's playing the fucking victim card. Also, when she's using her Iron Man or her own suit, she's going up, or that's straight out of the first Iron Man movie. How high can you go? And it's like, well, okay, that's a nice, good touch there. But then you're also having this character as a MacGuffin. It's like, can she not have her own her own value other than being an object, essentially, for a plot? This character is supposed to be extremely smart. So why can't she have some sort of other use other than being just a MacGuffin? And these were things that people were saying to me after the movie ended, because I was talking to them and they caught on that I was a reviewer, and they're like, I mean, this is something that kind of just, we didn't like her character. She was coming across as extremely arrogant. She was being extremely, or like you guys were saying, there's a very big difference between the Wakandan black people and Riri Williams, American black. And it's like, why do we always have to have that kind of stereotype? That's what they were saying at the end of the movie. They actually were extremely pissed off about it. Yeah. And I'm like, man, if Disney could hear this, because this is the kind of stuff that they need to hear. And the Iron Man or the Mark II suit that they have, it's like straight rip-off of Big Bad Beetleborgs from the 90s. I mean,
I'm gonna go Super Sentai, but yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, basically it is Super Sentai. It's those shows that America basically appropriated for their own childhood Saturday cartoon TV shows. And I mean, it's straight up just it just was bad. Also, Shuri, the way that she acts in this movie is I get she is full of grief, but she is also extremely smart. So when she does her little journey to the other world and she sees Killmonger and she basically falls to the dark side, and it's like, no. Shuri is actually one of the people who would actually be smart enough not to do that. She scoffs at tradition. Yeah, one of the things I really liked about M'Baku was that he actually was the voice of reason for her. That is actually one thing that I didn't expect them to do, because honestly, look what they're doing with the MCU. It's women, women, women. And to have a guy who is basically the voice of reason for her is actually something that is quite respectable. The one thing I didn't like, because I loved M'Baku from the first Black Panther, where he is strong, where he is willing to basically tell people that I'm going to feed you to my kids if you keep on talking. And now, and when they were doing their hooting from their gorilla hoots, in this one, they're doing freaking chimpanzee hoots. It's like, how freaking dumb can you get with that? I mean, he's like doing, oh, oh. I'm like, am I the only one that kind of feels like somebody's about to bitch in the audience? Because that just seems really wrong. And I'm like, these are guys that will go, or that imitate gorillas, not chimpanzees.
Yeah.
And
but
I mean,
I think you're talking to a bigger point with kind of this. It's the contradiction with Wakanda in general, not just most of this movie. And I've talked about this before. It's like the way that they portray Wakanda in this film is that Wakanda is the most technologically advanced nation on Earth because of, the vibranium that they got from the asteroid that happened, how many years ago it was. So they want to portray this African nation that avoided the perils of, being part of the African slave back then and being one of the most technologically advanced societies in the world. But at the same time, they're trying to mix what would essentially be like a first world, essentially like a first world government versus, essentially third world cultures are from much poorer African nations.
Yeah.
So they try to find ways to blend in the culture part with the functioning society part. And it really just makes the whole thing look backwards. I even complained about this with the first Black Panther movie. This is one of the issues that I had, is that you had a guy, you had essentially this Wakanda is almost a superpower when you compare it to like other governments, but you had a guy who was a military guy who came to Wakanda because he was the blood relative of the king. Essentially,
he had a claim to the throne.
And then he comes in, he beats the protector of the village, and then almost in one fell swoop successfully takes down Wakanda almost overnight, right? So you're thinking to yourself, if it was almost that easy for him to bring down the entire nation, then when you consider, like I said, intelligent agencies, just like modern, like, the way the world works like today, like this would have fallen apart far before Killmonger came and almost brought the whole thing down with him. And it's kind of just a contradiction with the way that they tried to portray Wakanda in the universe. Now, that's not necessarily a fault with the film itself, because they're just trying to create what already exists in the comics. But what already exists in the comics comes with a lot of inaccuracies in its portrayal to begin with. So it's like you try to do that in the movie, and it's like, well, you can only essentially do with what you're given, right?
Yeah.
See, I feel like those fights weren't really described hard enough, because we don't know how often they are. Like, we don't know why they happen. Like we know why they happen, but what is the real reason why these fights happen? Like, what's the timetable? Is it like a year, 2 years? Is it like so X amount of years when somebody comes king to get challenged? We don't know all that.
Yeah.
So that's why it feels messed up.
It's basically, I'm guessing, when it comes to, or it's basically a transfer of powers when the whole challenge thing happens. It's like when the new king is taking their place, they have to prove themselves worthy, essentially. And that's another thing in this movie which makes a mistake with Shuri, or how I feel that they made a mistake with Shuri. Her being the whole, I'm going to make people suffer, or I'm going to make Namor suffer, and I'm going to slaughter him and whatnot. It's like, did you not notice what happened when Killmonger took over Wakanda? He also scoffed at tradition. And look what happened. Wakanda turned into essentially a warmongering state. that was going to be hell-bent on world domination. And you're telling me that you're going to scoff at tradition like he did, and you're going to go to war like he wanted to, and you're not picking up on the lessons that your brother,
they're
your own
mixing
fucking brother,
they're
lived by.
mixing the audience consensus with the Killmonger character, where a lot of people believe that Killmonger was right and that he had a point about Wakanda, and they're mixing that in with the character of Shuri. The problem is that the character of Shuri would have never thought that Killmonger was right, because obviously
Exactly.
took out her, almost killed her brother, and almost took down her kingdom. So in no way would that character be on the same page as Killmonger, but they're taking the audience consensus of the first movie and applying that to her character, which doesn't make any sense.
Exactly. And that was the biggest, it's like, this is the biggest problem in this entire story. You are saying that Shuri is lost, that she is angry. That's understandable, but in no way in hell would she ever side with Killmonger. There, no way in hell. In fact, her seeing him back or in that realm would actually cement her belief that this is not the way to go.
See,
Because
that's where I disagree a little bit, because it even if people are very, very smart, there's times where like this, like where people will do irrational stuff, like especially like her brother passed, she couldn't do anything with her brother passed, and she tried everything. She's angry at that. She's she like she was angry when her dad passed away, and now her mom passed away. So now she doesn't have any family other than just well, she doesn't even know that she had a nephew. So she doesn't have any family right now, and the only person that she can go after is Namor, and she's pissed. So that's the big reason why she saw Killmonger, because she thought she was going to see her mom, but she was so filled with rage that that's the person that she saw. And I understand that point, because we can be as smart as we want to be, but when some crazy life thing happens like that and you're pissed off and you want to get at somebody,
grief
what's
can
going to
blind
happen? Yeah. So you
Yeah,
got to
grief and
kind
So
of.
there, that is more, or that's actually a
I think
more
that's a great
valid
point.
defense of it. It's
I,
actually
I, I
good
didn't have a
point.
problem with that part at all, about that whole. I mean, I hear what you're saying, Orange Hat, about like, she wouldn't do that, but I think OB's on point, and that actually felt the most natural for me. And I gotta tell you, the audience did a collective. That was the only time they really cheered. It's when they saw Killmonger on screen. I was kind of freaked out. I was like, really? Like, well, the
I think
things.
the timing of it was okay. Like, if
Yeah.
that
Now,
makes sense, because she was at a very low, vulnerable point, and
yeah.
when you're like that, you do question your foundational beliefs. And
And
I've,
here's an
done that enough that I know that would work okay.
Hey, I
think.
gotta apologize. I gotta sign off. I gotta get my kid down
Yeah,
to bed.
I was about to give you a chance to go out to you, so I know you're running off. Yeah, before you go, kind of give us your final consensus of the movie, and then anything you want to promote, I'll give the floor to you here before we let you go. So,
Well, I just think it was a huge. I went into this kind of real more positive. I know my videos that are all over the place show that I'm really ranty and angry, but that's not what I expected. Like I said, I was a big fan of the first movie. I kind of thought this was going to be kind of Doctor Strange-ish, give or take. Maybe even more fun than that. And maybe that's why I reacted, because I really got sideswiped, and I just felt like every 5, 10, 15 minutes there was just something that was awkward, weird, insulting, this, that, and the other. I hope Marvel gets it together. DC's coming. I think I'm a DC guy. I was raised, even though I'm Mexican Iron Man, I was raised a DC guy. Actually, Doctor Strange and Iron Man are the only two Marvel comics I really read as a kid. So I don't know. DC's coming. I hope Marvel gets it together. I mean, this phase didn't go well. Tomorrow morning, I'll be on Loki's Mornings of Mischief at 9 a.m. Eastern time for a 1-hour show. And then normally I'm on Midnight's Edge After Dark. Thanks for having me. Great channel. Y'all are great. This is awesome. And thanks for having me.
all right, then I'm gonna go ahead and make sure
thank
I
you for
link
coming.
your YouTube in the chat too, so people can go follow you over there as well. But yeah, except we definitely have to have you on again. This has
Yeah,
been,
I'd love to come back. If there's another movie you guys are going to watch, I can come back, especially once we get out of November after Thanksgiving, December, January. I'm pretty much kill air till mid to late February when tax season heats up again. So
Oh yeah, because I know that Rick and Rob doesn't want to suffer alone, so they're very happy when more people watch these movies.
And I go to the movies on average. I was looking at my Fandango account. On average, the past year I've gone at least on average one movie every week and a half.
Yeah.
So.
All right, man. Well, like I said, thanks for joining us here, Mike. I'm glad you were able to make it onto the show. So, like I said, go subscribe to Mike on YouTube, and we'll hope to have you back sooner rather than later. So,
thanks for having me. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
All right, man.
This was my third movie this year.
No one asked you.
Good for
All right,
you.
then, so
Now I return as the only real Mexican.
So I knew that they were only going to be around for like an hour or so, so I wanted to make sure I get as much time in with them as possible. So now I'm back with you guys, and we can really dig into kind of the nooks and crannies.
Guys,
and
listen,
the nitpicks.
listen. There's nothing to dig into. I'm sorry. This movie is so bad. I've been sitting here for an hour and 23 minutes, and I'm like, what are they going to talk about? There's nothing to talk about. And here we are. So
we're going to talk about what could have been, Rob, okay?
I can't believe that
grief
you are
and our trauma.
I cannot believe that you are trashing a movie that will be guaranteed to win at least 5
Oh,
Oscars.
they're gonna fucking win so many freaking
This
awards
is the
because the awards are
crash
corrupt.
version of the Oscars, though.
it can make as much money and win as many awards. It doesn't mean it's not a piece of shit. There you go.
It's going to be between Reeves' song and Billy Eichner's "Love Is Not Love" for original song. That's going to be the big race.
Oh.
Yeah.
One of the things that did anybody notice that the change of Atlantis to Talocan? I'm sorry, but when they kept on saying Talocan, I'm like, why does it keep on sounding like tuna can? I mean, honestly,
saying it's too on the nose.
Very much, because it's like there's just no. Also, freaking Kukul Khan, or however you say, I'm like, is that supposed to be Shao Kahn's cousin?
No, that's
from Mortal Kombat.
Well, look,
that's going to be the feathered serpent. It's supposed to be like a
Feathered
Mayan
serpent
Aztec.
god.
Yeah, it's like some San Diego Aztec stuff that no one talks about.
Well, I know that, or I know a little bit of Aztec and Mayan gods like Huitzilopochtli and whatnot.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Yeah.
No, I was saying I'm just trotting out the few Aztec deities that I know. A shame to my people that I know so few. There's Quetzalcoatl, Popocatépetl. That's pretty much it.
Huitzilopochtli.
Yeah.
Blue hummingbird of the east.
But I was still lost that Shuri looked like Sandy Cheeks from SpongeBob when she's touring Talocan. So I was really lost.
So let me get a couple of my rants out of the way because I've been holding back a little bit too.
Go ahead.
First of all, I don't know who we talked about this a little bit, but I was sitting in like the third or fourth row of the movie theater watching this movie. This shit was so fucking difficult to watch in a movie theater, and I'm sitting here like, why is this movie so goddamn dark? Now, the one excuse I did hear is that, in the first film where they're in the jungle, is that they're trying to play up to the scene where, there's no light there, so it's kind of hard to see, and I was like, okay, I would buy that if it was only that one scene where they were at the little beach or the river with Namor. When they're in the city and they're driving around trying to escape the police and all that stuff, it's still just as fucking dark then as it was when they were in the fucking jungle with no light. So it's like, oh, okay, I see what happened here. You guys did shit job on your fucking CGI that you spent. By the way, you spent $250 million on this fucking movie to make this movie? Are you serious? Where did that fucking money go? Because clearly it didn't go to the CGI. It looked like shit. You were clearly standing in front of a fucking blue screen for a lot of it, especially in that last act with the whole battle on the giant submarine ship thing that they were on. That was clearly just all blue screen all around them at that point. And then there's no big name actors in this fucking movie. You don't have Iron Man in this. You don't have Captain America. You don't have any of the other Avengers. Paulie had mentioned earlier, I don't think we got the chance to talk about that, about why were there no other Avengers here during this whole thing when this got started? Why was the only the Wakandan people allowed to mourn Black Panther? He was a fucking Avenger. He helped save the world in Endgame. He helped the conflict with Civil War. It wasn't like he was just in his own fucking movie and never interacted with anybody. Shouldn't there have been a much bigger fucking celebration here? And don't tell me it's because they couldn't afford it, because I'm pretty sure if you ask Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans to show up for a scene that's supposed to be a scene that's paying tribute to Chadwick Boseman, they can make some arrangements to show up for a couple of days. It's not that big of a fucking deal.
Because that would be interrupting the black experience to have non-black people in Wakanda mourning the monarch. That is why they are not there.
Why isn't Don Cheadle there then?
Yeah, you could have had freaking
Falcon.
Rhodes. You could have had Falcon. You could have had Rhodes there.
Why was Bucky not there? After all, Bucky had did with Wakanda.
Bucky Barnes has a freaking vibranium arm. Why the hell wasn't he brought back there? They should have brought her. They skipped. I don't want to be the one to say it.
They skipped. They skipped on the production and they skipped on the star power, and somehow they still managed to spend $250 fucking million on the production. Where the fuck did all that money go?
Did you not see the elaborate costumes, sir? That's where
you mean that blueberry outfit with the freaking dreadlock hairdos?
And the white mourning robes and the feathered costumes and Namor's wings. That's where the money went, into the sets and the costumes, which will win Oscars. That's where the money went. It did not go to production. As to why none of these Avengers were there, well, for the same reason that you had to keep non-black audiences out of the theater the first week, because it would intrude on their collective experience and grief.
Hey, he's saying it, not me, man. Although I fully agree with him.
I don't know if you agree or saying that I'm saying something that you want to say there on chat, but
you're saying it.
I'm saying it. I'm a person of color, so as a member of an oppressed people, I can get away with this.
Exactly.
Yes, that's why we're in chat and I have not said anything.
That is why, and Rob can only say like half of it because he's only half.
No, he's
very white.
I don't think he should say anything.
Very, very white.
He's very white.
And then just real quick here, and then this is my other problem with the movie. Now, I didn't hate this movie as much as some other people. Some people didn't like it more than me, because I'll say this: the only character in this whole movie that I actually felt anything for, that I actually kind of liked, was Shuri. I really did like her portrayal of the movie, and the reason because she's the only character in this film that has any kind of story progression, like whatsoever. She's the only character in the film that has any kind of stakes. When the story is following her and she's going through like struggling with the grief of losing her brother, and then losing the queen, and then she's struggling with now I have to lead this entire country by myself and I have nobody to guide me. It's like when you're doing stuff like that, I actually do like this film when they focus more on her. And I know there's people out there saying that they should just fire her because she's not vaccinated, and we just did like. Good thing they didn't listen to those idiots, because if she was not in this film, this would be utter dog shit. But the other problem is that she's the only decent character in the movie, because essentially everybody else in this film is the secondary characters within the Wakanda universe. And these are mostly like TV actors and actors who haven't really been in any like major productions outside of like a few things here. But it's like these actors are not strong enough to carry their own movies by themselves. And this is kind of the central problem with the film, is that because you don't have a Black Panther, because you chose not to recast the role, you're essentially stuck with a bunch of secondary characters who really don't hold any main weight here. And then you're trying to shoehorn in a new hero who, like I said, is not very well liked to begin with going into this. And then you're also trying to insert a new villain who, with Namor, that has his own issues as well. They were trying to do way too much with this fucking movie, and there's absolutely no reason whatsoever this film should have been 2 hours and 45 fucking minutes. You could have cut an hour out of this fucking movie, and it probably would have been far better. If we were only in the theaters for like an hour 45 minutes, probably would have given this a lot higher ranking than we did. But they just like every wrong decision creatively they could have made with this film. They felt like they fucking made it.
Well, it's interesting. First off, I would disagree. Angela Bassett is a star. Second, she's going to win the Oscar. And second, it's amazing that we've talked all at length about this, and I don't think anyone has mentioned Martin Freeman or Julie Louis Dreyfus in this movie. They
Because
were
we
they
hated her character in this movie. I can't
well,
stand Julie Louis Dreyfus in this movie.
but they are irrelevant. They mean their whole stories could have been cut, and it would not have affected anything in this movie. I still have no idea who Julia Louis Dreyfus's character is supposed to be. I understand she's from the TV shows, but by
Yeah.
and large, I have not seen the TV shows, so I'm not going to understand who she is or what she does. And if she's already tracking, if she knows that they were already tracking them there, why does she even need to go through all of this rigmarole with her ex-husband uh, in
It's
the first
Tulsi
place?
Gabbard, Rick. It's Tulsi Gabbard, obviously. That's what I
I
thought.
thought
No.
she looked like
No.
her. She
She
sounded
looked
a little
like Tulsi
streak.
Gabbard, but
She
she was
looked
more
like
of
a
a fucking
streak.
Hillary Clinton.
No, I get
Well,
it.
no,
But yeah,
I
it was
thought she
funny to
looked
me.
like Tulsi Gabbard, so I was
Yeah.
confused. But they were there for what purpose? What was their reason for being in this whole movie? They could have
Comedic
been cut.
relief
There wasn't even that. I don't remember anyone laughing.
or an attempt at it.
They could have been cut. I felt that they could
They
have been
could have.
cut from the film, and it would not have affected the story. We would have just kept. It might have had a shorter movie. This
It's the
movie
evil white
is actually,
people. It's the evil white people in the movie, so you got to have that.
and that's why they didn't to the funeral. Now they also. They all they this movie is actually what, close to half hour longer than the original Black Panther, and like I said, it's about
It's the second longest MCU film not named Endgame.
Yes.
Wow.
And it's actually, although like I said, about 6 minutes longer than Dune, which is my standard for very long films. There is no reason for this movie to be close to 3 hours long, and probably they were more focused. Like I told Orange Hat, they were probably more focused on the crying and the feels, and oh look, we're going
Mourn
to
porn.
honor
More porn.
more.
That's
Yeah.
essentially what it is.
But
I
it
do
wasn't
got to give
well
a shout
done.
out to Mr. H Reviews for coining that phrase, by the way, mourn porn. That's essentially what this movie was.
I think it would be more that if they actually focused more on the morning and stuff, though. I mean, like most of the
Yeah.
plot, you're like, oh, there's this guy running around with wings on his feet, and you got to do something and save the girl that we don't know anything about.
Also,
wouldn't
his
say
call
that.
to arms scene was some of the worst CGI as well as the worst dialogue deliverance I have ever.
Yeah, when he's
Fucking
like sitting on the
scene.
throne and like his
Hello,
face is not
Conrad.
moving
It's-
properly
yeah.
with his words.
His lips aren't even moving. It's like, this is an unfinished CGI shot. You guys fucking put this in an MCU film?
$250 million production.
You've seen the
Because-
producers, right?
No.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
This is a
Watch it
producer's
sometime.
Because this movie because I think Disney and the MC and Marvel knew that this was going to make a great deal of money in its first week. People were going to flock. They were going to have a good cry about Chadwick Boseman again. They were going to feel for the continuing adventures of Wakanda, and they wanted to see Angela Bassett in her Academy Award-winning role. Of course, they're going to go see it the first week.
Queen Tyrant. I mean, she went full frickin'. Yeah, I understand her grief and whatnot, and but her son was doing the whole outreach thing and getting ready to basically give vibranium to be used in different or in non-violent ways. As soon as he dies, it's like, we're going back to hoarding. I'm like, it's kind of regressive, don't you think?
Well, keep in mind that was what I think me and Spencer were talking about this last week. How we thought that they were going to introduce Ironheart in this film, because if you remember at the end of the first Black Panther movie, he was opening up outreach schools in lower income communities, like in Oakland and other places, where it's like, okay, we're gonna start giving back to these communities that we closed off of, and actually help these kids with our technology and with our wealth, and kind of give back to these communities that we've ignored for so many centuries. But they didn't even like play that up here in this film at all.
that would have actually been a great introduction for Riri Williams to be part of one of the kids from the outreach. They missed so many opportunities. Instead, they had to go ghetto hustler, stereotypical ghetto hustler. It's like, why do you constantly, and I'm not saying this to be any sort of white outrage for black people. I'm actually saying this because this is what I got from feedback from black people at the theater.
Yeah, and then
They
there's the
were
other thing
pissed
too
off.
that they don't really play up. It's like Riri would not be a woman who's hard up on money if she has enough parts and everything to build her own Iron Man suit. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but putting together your own suit that flies and has like jets and weapons, stuff like that, it's not really cheap. Even if you just happen to like find and steal like those items, it's like like I said, they're trying to portray her one way while the whole it just doesn't make any sense.
Logically, it doesn't make sense.
She's got to be ghetto. She has to be ghetto and brilliant, which makes no sense.
Why couldn't she just be portrayed similar to Shuri? Like,
Exactly.
Because you need young, heroic black women who will be, relatable, or at least
whatever the hell that means.
Whatever. However, the writer and producer and director think is relatable to young black women.
Did they ever meet these young black women though? I've taught young black women. So.
I'm sure they've seen, like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if they've met them. I assume that they have, or at least they think. This is how, in the same way that I'm sure they came up with Kukulkan as their idea of a typical Hispanic or Latin character who was like that. They didn't ask me, little old waspy Gen X or me, about how a typical Hispanic person is. I don't know. I can only take stabs as to why they decided to make Riri. I found her unlikable, period, and I found her rather stupid because
rather stupid sounds about right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here she is. I mean, she's facing the police and she's being chased by blue creatures or blue people, and all she can do is talk back to them and be all sassy. I don't know if that's a positive representation for young black women, but I'm assuming that was the whole point. That and the fact is to make Wakanda Forever essentially a trailer for the Ironheart series.
Also, did anybody notice that when the tuna can people went after the cops, they killed the guy and knocked out the female?
No, I didn't notice that.
I mean, this movie was basically
when he punched him in the chest. That scene.
Yeah, it's like the cops are shooting at him. It's like, you guys go kick that.
Oh, no. I thought you thought there was
on the bridge.
The end. Yeah.
It was on the bridge. And it's like, really? I mean, I get that you're doing the whole woman power thing, but now you're just going to anti-men in certain scenes here.
Yeah.
Well, this is something I wanted to actually let me let's bring up the ending first. Then I do want to get back to that. That's something I want to bring up towards the end. But let's just go ahead and fast forward to the ending, and I want to start with OB on this one. Is that so? The ending of the film comes is that Shuri obviously she recreates that vibranium plant that gives people powers. So she takes in the mantle of Black Panther. One thing that I would say, if you were going to have her be the female Black Panther, I would have, I don't know, made her look a little bit bigger, because there are scenes in the film where she looks like a very, very small, like, little thing in the film, even though she's supposed to be like a 30-year-old woman. So I thought they could have done her a little bit better there, especially if you're going to have her be the protector of this country moving forward. But she gets into the fight with Namor, and then they have this whole like war on the sea with Wakanda and all of the blue tuna can people, as Orange Hat says.
Talokan.
And no one's gonna remember that. So, so you get to the end here, and I guess they figured out. It's like, well, Namor is weak when he's getting dried out. So if we can keep him out of the water, he'll be just weak enough for us to defeat him. Even though I thought Namor was a guy who can go on both water and land, so I didn't really understand that logic to the portrayal of his characters. Now, if they was just like his people would be weakened if they were going on land, that would make sense. But I don't know why he would be weakened if that was the case. But that's the whole thing for another day. So they get to a fight, and then of course, that we're talking about Shuri going to like the dark side and whatnot. She has Namor in a position where he can basically like kill her if he wanted to, but she pulls back because at the end of the day they realize that, hey, we need to work together, for the greatest of both of our people. We can't be going to war and killing each other because then we're just gonna be weak to the rest of the world. And I'm like, okay, that would have been great if you guys came to that realization like 2 hours ago when he first showed up in the first place and asked you guys to work together. But apparently you need to go through this whole journey before you figure that portion of it out. And then we get a little happily ever after. And then our end credit scene is that we find out that I don't remember the name of the girl who's in the Jordan Peele stuff. What was her name?
Lupita Nyong'o.
Lupita Nyong'o.
Okay, Kiki Palmer.
What was her damn character's name?
Nikita, I think, or something like that.
Nakia, yeah.
Nakia. So obviously after the blip, or I guess when he died or whatever, she went to Haiti and moved there and was kind of like away from the Wakandan people for so many years. But we find out that apparently in secret she had fathered a child with T'Challa, and the kid's now 10 years old, and we find out that the kid's name is also T'Challa. So there's going to be some future angle where this kid will be the heir of the throne to Wakanda, I'm pretty sure, in 20 years when the MCU is still going. So I want to start with OB real quick, and then I'll get to you. I want to start with OB and just about the ending to this film, and kind of just your final thoughts about the movie.
You talking about the ending?
Yeah, the ending.
With the ending, and this is why I kind of have a problem with people talking about the recasting of T'Challa, because this is what they kind of did anyway with the T'Challa Jr. I'm like, they kind of recasted him anyway. So that when I see people on Twitter talking about that, I'm like, have y'all even seen the movie? Did y'all even go and like, did y'all leave mid movie or something? Because they really did recast the damn character.
I always say this though, but that's they did that, but that's not going to pay off until God knows how many years, like moving forward. Like,
I understand that.
With this movie.
I understand that, but they still recast them. People are like, "Oh, they should recast the." I'm like, they did though. They did. Did you watch the movie, sir? And I don't have any, like, no one has answered that question on Twitter. I'm like, have you seen the movie? And nobody wants to answer the question. I'm like, well, I guess you didn't see the goddamn movie. But but like with the ending, yeah, I think they did kind of do it a little bit too much with Chad, because they did they had a moment of silence in the beginning for Chad, and then they had another moment of silence at the end for Chad. And I think that's and to your point, they didn't have a lot of big budget names, like very, very notable names in this movie, and that was one of the things that they wanted to throw at you, because that was the only big name in the movie, so like him and Michael B. Jordan, and they just kept throwing that at you. I understood why they did it, but it was a little bit too much, because they already are talking about him in the beginning of the movie. They talk about him in the middle. I'm like, oh my gosh, man! I understand, but geez, like, we supposed to be talking about the future of Wakanda, not okay. We understand his death is tragic, but we got to move on. And I didn't like that they just kept trying to put that to the audience. We understand his death is tragic, but we want to see what Shuri does with the mantle right now. We kind of already saw that. And another thing, what people are like, is kind of anti-man. When I saw Jason Whitlock talking about that, I'm like, did you not see M'Baku be the person of reason in the movie? Did you watch a different movie than I did, sir? He's telling the woman
I
to
would
calm
say
the hell
this:
down.
He was a
that
voice
guy.
of reason, but he was also cucked in other ways.
No, I was gonna say that guy wasn't in the movie nearly as much as he should have been. Because outside of
Yes.
Shuri, he was the only other character that I liked in this film.
Oh yeah, and then he's one of the strongest men in the film. He was beating up all the freaking blue people until they just got overwhelmed because there were just too many. And then at the end, he even challenges for the throne. So Jason Woodlaw talking about their anti-man, like the whole like the little, I would say the background of the story was that they are still looking for a king, and Wakanda can't really survive without a king, aka a man, a strong man leading them. That was one of the big points. I don't know if anybody else has noticed that, especially at the end when Shuri didn't even want to take up the mantle. She didn't want to be queen or nothing. And it was M'Baku who stepped up. So they're still doing those old principles of needing a man, a strong king to lead the country.
Yeah. I actually would like to jump in on that. I didn't I tweeted it out earlier. I said I think female superhero movies are kind of bad just because I don't think men can write women very well, and I don't think women can write superheroes very well. And the exceptions to this prove the rule, I think.
Well,
And
there's
I didn't think it was as anti-man as people said. Most of the stuff that was directly anti-man was stuff about Bilbo and his wife, ex-wife or whatever. And like I said, you could kick that out really easily. So
there's a bigger point here to be made about. There's a bigger point to be made here about the whole gender thing, and I will address that because it more addresses the executive producers behind these projects. But I want to save that for the very end. So,
just one more thing. I like the movie. I was going with the movie. It was all fine and whatever. I understood all the weird stuff that happened, and all of a sudden the girl kisses her on the top of the head, and she says thanks lover or something. I'm like, really, bro? You just had to add that right on in there.
Yes, and there's a reason. There is a reason why that's in there, and I will bring that up.
In freaking, that was covered in articles that Okoye's second in command is lesbian lover to another of the Dora Milaje. I mean, they even cut the Dora Milaje. They made them more comedic than anything.
Yeah.
When I wouldn't even mind if Ricky Williams was gay, but they just like I don't mind when gay people are in films if they actually have. I don't like with any character. I like when they have an actual story arc. They mean something in the story. I don't like when any gay person, black person, whatever, are just in there just to be in there and they're gone for a second. I don't like that.
Victoria Alonso. That's why that scene was in there. Like I said, we're going to talk about her in a second. But Rob, I think you kind of pretty much told everyone what you thought about the film. So do you have any more final thoughts here on the movie?
Yeah, I just, I mean, going in, I wasn't gonna be a fan of this, so I'm probably the most biased person sitting here. Look, it's Marvel at the end of their rope, trying to put a tapestry of characters and scenes together, and it's whatever. I just write it off as a business decision at this point. But if fans of the franchise got something out of it, hey, I'm happy for them. But outside of that, I just think it's a giant mess of a movie. Even before we get to the ending, it's like, how do you hold on? How are you still watching? So I hats off to everybody that went to a movie theater to watch this, because I did not.
Let's start with Orange Chat. Any final thoughts for you and Rick?
This movie, like you said, they could have cut some massive time out of this movie. They could have done or another thing is, you are absolutely right. I have tinted lenses on my glasses because sensitivity to light. Also, I had to watch this movie in 3D, which also tints your damn glasses further. And I'm like, I can't see a fucking thing at night with these scenes. Okay, there's a flying guy. I'm barely making out of shape. And I'm like, what the frig, man? I hate you, Disney. You are assholes for trying to hold on to this 3D thing. even James Cameron thinks it's stupid now, and he's the one that pushed
He's
for
the
it.
one that started this.
I know, and it's like, oh my fucking god! But you could have cut like easily 30 to 40 minutes out of this film. You could have easily cut the call to arms, except for him saying Telecan or Tuna Can Rise or whatever. I mean, and then the people reacting. Cut everything away or out of it other than that. You could have done so freaking much. I mean, you could have even cut out the Ross escape, because honestly, that stupid ass line that Okoye delivers in that was just, I mean, yeah, I get it, but still, it's, come on. What was the purpose of that line other than to be freaking just stupid?
Is that the Popo?
It's a colonizer in chains. Now I've seen everything.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like,
they got to play up to their
fucking
audience.
Really?
They got to play up to the audience.
Yeah. I mean, that's the problem with these movies, and that's the problem with a lot of these things. You're playing towards an audience, but you're playing toward them stereotypically, which isn't helping.
No.
It just isn't, and it's really sad. People are falling for it.
Well, first, I'm perplexed as to why anyone would cry over T'Challa having an illegitimate child. I'm assuming he's illegitimate because I don't remember them getting married. If they did, more power to them.
Also, did he have the heart-shaped herb when he nutted in what's her name? Because that kid will most likely be a superpower.
No, actually he wouldn't, because if that kid's 10 years old, that means that it within chronology that this would have happened before he took no,
the kid was more like 9-ish. So
I'm trying to think about when
just
Civil War
before
happened.
the blip, just before the blip, because she lived, or she didn't get blipped out. He did.
Yeah,
she didn't.
She didn't.
And she was able to carry the kid. So yeah. Because
You guys-
Shuri apparently is 19 in the film. I got bitched at for the whole video I did about people demanding the lesbian lover between Riri and Shuri.
Oh,
Wait,
yeah,
Shuri
yeah.
is 19? I know Riri's 19. Shuri's definitely
Riri is
19.
19. Shuri was 16 in Black Panther, but she got blipped. And then 3 years later, with the whole...
was it 5 years?
Or it's 3 years after the blip,
So she
apparently.
should be like 23 then, right?
No, she'd be 19.
So, well, I mean...
16 plus 3.
Yeah, they did a double chime jump. Just fucked
You've
everything
got
up.
a great title there, Shuriri.
Yeah, don't get me started. I forget. It's like,
It
of
reminds
course,
me of
people
that
are going to
song
be
Shuriri.
making this demand.
Well, look,
That's all they got to focus on.
Well, first off, I think in almost every Phase 4 movie, you've had to have a same-sex romance.
Every single one.
And it's ridiculous.
With the exception of Eternals, for some reason, it's been lesbians. You had lesbian parents in Doctor
There's
Strange.
a reason.
There is a reason.
You had Valkyrie be bisexual or lesbian. You've had the Dora Milaje now be lesbians. I'm not exactly sure what the fixation is with lesbians, and I suspect Jacob has an idea.
Yeah, it's called they're the executive producers of the movie. That's why. So,
but again,
I was going off of stats. Lesbian porn accounts for the most watched type of porn in America.
Oh no, it's not even that. It's that simple. It's the fact that all the executive producers of these projects are lesbians themselves, and they're self-inserting that shit into the film.
All right. Well, yes, there does seem to be a fixation with lesbians, and Eternals being the exception, which had a same gay couple that was barely mentioned. First off, I again don't understand why people were in tears and crying in Kevin Smith style about T'Challa having an illegitimate child. That's not something to cry about. It strikes me a little out of character.
They act like it was his actual kid. Like seriously,
that is so bizarre. As for this movie, I know that I joke a lot about this movie, being the Citizen Kane of Marvel movies, and it's going to win Best Picture and all this. The people who genuinely believe that it's going to get nominated and Angela Bassett's going to win and it's going to be a major award contender. I don't understand why they think this. I saw the movie. The movie I did not think was terrible. I think I mean I would watch this over Bros or The Gray Man, but for the life of me, I don't understand why people think that this is such a great film. It's not the worst
That's
film I've seen, but it's just a puzzle as to why so many people get emotional. I think they're confusing their love and respect for Chadwick Boseman with a movie that does not deserve does not deserve a lot of a lot of praise. Um, this is not a great film. It's excuse me, it's far too long. It has things that are irrelevant. Again, you could cut out Martin Freeman and Julia Louis-Dreyfus altogether, and it wouldn't affect anything.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't get the passion. I don't get the love. I know people have seriously posted videos about uh, Angela Bassett being given Best Supporting Actress for this. Um, Riri is annoying, and I don't see why people would like her. I kept thinking, is this a trailer? This almost smacks like a trailer for a TV show that I have no interest in. And I don't need them to ship Riri with Shuri because I mean, as I told Jacob, we've already had Wincest, we've had Homecest. I don't understand why people enjoy putting these characters in romantic or sexual situations. I don't fixate on the sex lives of fictional characters. That's just me. But as for the movie overall, uh, I'm glad that Phase 4 is finally done. I'm not looking forward to Phase 5, and I really think that the Marvel Cinematic Universe should just call it a day. We're pushing 20 years. Why do we keep having more of this? Why?
Before I let Johnson wrap up her final thoughts here, I just want to bring up a completely unrelated tweet about people who ship, because apparently people were trying to hook up Namor and Sue Storm, who's literally already married to a major Marvel character. And I just politely responded, not to sound extreme, but anyone who ships for fictional characters need to be assassinated. And I think that's a pretty reasonable take to have. I don't think there's really any
I
disagreement
responded to that by saying I create my own characters that I ship.
there. Yeah. Go
So
ahead, Justin.
I do the respectable thing, okay? Well, my final thoughts on the movie. First of all, my first thought is don't take your children to see this with you, okay? I mean, there was a very adorable little girl behind me that she kept asking me questions about where was my kid, and I had some children off to the other side of me that were like, "Who's that? Who's that? What's going on? I can't see." And don't take your kids to this, okay? Please.
You
As
gotta
far as
keep them calm for 3 hours too. That's another fun thing you do with your kids.
well, I mean, like, I'll say this: like, I bought my $8 matinee ticket, and I bought $28 worth of food to go with it, so it wasn't a complete loss to the theater.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my number one thing there. Please don't take your children to see this. Also, there were a lot of swear words, and I don't care if people really say them. This is a Disney film, so it's got to be accessible on some level to children, I guess.
Wait
If
till
you're
you see
gonna bring them,
Deadpool.
all the bad parents are going to bring their kid. Okay, you should not take it with this language because all the language, it bothered me, and I don't care. I generally don't care, but I was like, there are children here. You shouldn't be saying that. So, okay, that's my mom rant part of it. The writing on this was so bad. The writing on this was so bad. I mean, it was very well made. It looked pretty enough for me. I'm not very good at catching CGI mishaps and stuff. So I feel like that's honestly like a male gift that I just don't have on my female genes. And I felt like, yeah, it was very well made. Things look nice. They did a good job, except I mean, there was some CG flops. Like when you see Shuri as the Black Panther, I was like, okay, that's definitely CGI. Okay, if I can tell it's bad. But it was very well made. They tried to make it relevant. They tried to honor Chadwick Boseman, and by all accounts, they succeeded. That was nice. Maybe not completely as they could have, or whatever. I don't know. That's between them and God at this point. I'll ask God when we get to the final judgment. But yeah, the writing on this was so terrible. This is so terrible. Riri should have been the villain. If she was the villain, this would have been so much better.
The villain.
So much better. I cannot even tell you how much better it would have been. And you could have had her whole Ironheart TV show as this arc of redemption as she tries to make up for killing T'Challa, and like trying to like assure Shuri that she's on the good side now, and that she needs to learn to work with people if she's going to make the world a better place, and that all of her losses, can't justify somebody else losing people. And the theme of like dealing with your grief and stuff, I thought it was in there a couple places, but they were like conveniently placed places. Like it's like, oh yeah, we got to remember this thing. And I thought that killing the mom and the brother in the same movie was awful because you don't have as much time for the mother. And I think as a woman, that's going to hurt more than losing your brother. I mean, I know, like the whole first movie, she was like a sidekick and it was adorable and stuff, but like, this is your mother. This is the lady that you aspire to be if she's like a good woman. Like my mom is my hero. It's like, and they gave her like T'Challa was like 20 minutes and like her mom was like 5, and I'm just sitting there and I'm like, this did Angela Bassett's funeral dirty, So but yeah, bad writing, well made, good actors. I'm not blaming the actors. I'm not telling anybody to do anything bad. But yes, they need better writers for this thing. So.
Yeah, I mean, look, I pretty much said everything that I need to say about this movie. It's too long. The visuals are stunningly bad for a movie that cost almost $300 million just to produce alone. You have just basically a bunch of secondary characters who aren't strong enough to hold their own film. There's only really one redeemable character in this movie, which is Shuri's character. Everybody else, I'm just like, I can do without a lot of them. Riri, I mean, look, they didn't do her right in the comic book, so it's really no surprise they didn't do her right in the film either. And I'm pretty sure her Disney Plus series is going to suck too. And I'm pretty sure we're going to review that one because I want to torture Spencer even more. So mark me down for Ironheart when it comes on Disney Plus, and you'll have to edit all of those reviews as well. So, I mean, I've seen worse MCU films. I mean, a lot of the Thor movies are way worse. As much as I had to complain about this film, it's still better than fucking Love and Thunder, because I hated Love and Thunder. It's still on my top 10 list of worst movies of the year. So, I mean, I guess that's a little thing that you can put on the plus side. But there's just really nothing here that, I mean, I'm not going to watch this movie again. I'm not going to watch a lot of these other MCU films again. I've kind of gotten to the point where Rob are just like, yeah, these are just movies. I mean, I hope that there's a good one soon. I mean, I like Spider-Man, but that's pretty much been like the only real one that I've enjoyed in the last 3 or 4 years. This one gets a 1.5 out of 5 out of me. That's just the way that I
gave
see
it a 4 out of 10, so I guess that would be a 2 out of 5.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys want to give it a thumbs up or like the finger or thumbs down or anything like that.
Objective standard, it's about 7 out of 10. Without bias, it passes by skin of teeth. Subjectively, I put this thing at about a 6 to a 5 out of 10 because there's just too much. It was boring as fuck. And even moviegoer, on my reviews, I gave it a 9 out of 10 moviegoer, where it's based on entertainment value alone. I'm actually gonna drop that to a 7 out of 10 because I almost fell asleep in that theater, and I was so tired by the time I got home. You can actually see in my review that I am just wiped out from watching that movie. It's like, this movie is too fucking long.
Obi, do you have a rating for this one? I'm not sure if you ever gave one.
I think I gave it a 7.5 or an 8 out of 10 just because of the story. I just like the story. Like I think with the story, they had 2 colored nations and strong nations telling everybody else to go fuck themselves.
Yep.
And then they actually had a strong Hispanic / Latino character who also didn't give a damn. And he actually, and you were sympathetic for him. So that's why I had to give it an A, because of this, the little story elements that it had in it that I kind of appreciated. Yeah, well, all the other stuff, yeah, some of the CGI was, it's a Marvel movie. A lot of their CGI is freaking terrible. Video games look way better than
It's
Marvel
gotten worse
CGI.
over the years. That's
Like,
actually
so I can't even put it down for
Thor
that.
Love and Thunder
Yeah,
was pretty bad too.
Dude,
So.
I can't even watch the whole thing of Thor: Love and Thunder. I fell asleep every 6 times I've watched that movie.
Yeah,
a
It
friend
was
of
hard
mine
to
from
stay awake in the
Norway.
theater.
Same thing. He kept on falling asleep. He managed one time to stay awake during the whole thing. He's like, "Oh my god, this movie sucked. No wonder I was falling asleep."
So if you're comparing this, like if you're ranking the MCU films of the year, Doctor Strange 2 is probably the best MCU film of the year, and I didn't even like that one that much. Thor is easily the worst one of the year. Then this one's in between those two. So.
Yep, I had to agree.
I'll agree.
I'll go with that. I would probably give it a 2 out of 5. It 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 was just too long. It went all over the place, and
Yep.
it's strange that it's going to win a few Oscars, but there it is.
And
Oh yeah, and,
just wanted
just
to,
because
like,
I
that.
gave it an 8 or a 7.5 out of 10, no, this should not be no Oscar worthy movie. I'm sorry, they hyped it up way too much. I was looking at people like Marvel execs and people reviewing the movie saying something, it's one of the best Marvel movies. I'm like, what? What the hell are you talking? What? It's a good movie, but no.
MCU Phase 1 is peak.
One of my rules for watching movies like this is like you got to separate it from the hype, just because the hype will get you like all excited and all. But like if you like, even if you revisit Black Panther now, I'm sure you'd be like, oh, I wasn't as good as I remember.
Black
Right,
Panther
it
was
wasn't.
better. CS, all you need to start doing is start saying, "Don't believe the hype," and then
I am the hype. Sorry, I had to.
I was actually laughing at this little comment by Volume Dealer. So at least they drowned Angela.
Yeah, right.
But you know what? When
Also-
I went to go see The Other Guys with husband on one of our date nights when it came out, and I even said walking out of the theater, I'm like, I don't know what I watched just now, but I know it was worth the price of the ticket just to see The Rock and Samuel L. Jackson jump off a building.
Yeah.
Yep. And that has lasted to this day. People still reference that scene when they talk about that movie, you know. And it's like I saw The Other Guys when it came out, August 2010. I remember that. And it was like that was the last time I went to see a comedy movie and I laughed my ass off in a theater. So it's been a
the
long
fact
time.
that they're jumping off the building and then you're just like going like, where is the bushes? And they just like smash. And then Ice-T right after that is like, I don't know if it was their ego or they thought
That
they
was
could do
crazy.
that shit crazy. Yeah. So yeah, and one last thing, and Spencer needs to make a note of this for our discussion on Wednesday night when we talk about Marvel in general. 'Cause I brought this up last week. It's like right now we don't have a set Avengers team going into whatever the hell Phase 6 is supposed to be. They're doing 2 Avengers movies in Phase 6. All we know is that Kang is going to be the big bad villain in that film. We don't know who the actual Avengers team is going to be. So I don't know if they're going to try to go for like a more woke direction where they're going to have like, you know, Ironheart and Black Captain America and all the other incarnations that they've had, like the Marvels, which is Brie Larson, all that group. I don't know who's going to be on there. I don't know if they know who's going to be on this team right now. But there was also a note saying that, you know, hey, well, we're going to make this bigger than Endgame. So we're going to have essentially everyone who's ever been in any Marvel movie ever, including the Fox movies and the Sony movies and then the ones in between there, because we want this to be bigger than Endgame. That just tells me you guys have absolutely no plan for the future of this whatsoever. But the one thing we were bringing up towards our closing arguments is that there was a lot of people, I know OB objected to this, people are saying that, oh, it's anti-male and they want to like wipe out, you know, the men and replace them with women. that might not have been as heavy as a theme in this film, but it's definitely something that they're doing in Marvel in general. And the reason why you're seeing this is because you have people like Victoria Alonso, who's the executive producer of all of these MCU films. You have people like Kathleen Kennedy, who's in charge of Lucasfilm, and that's the story we're going to be talking about in the ballroom
I
tomorrow.
named one of my villainesses in my comic book Kathleen after her.
Yes. And then the woman who's the biggest advocate in lobbyist for GLAD, Sarah Kate Ellis, who's also pushing Hollywood to add more LGBTQ characters in their film, which is why you're getting scenes towards the end where she's sitting there and it's like, oh, thank you, my love, just to establish that they're lesbian, so they can get that check mark of, see, we had representation like in the film. This is the reason why this is happening, and it's happening, and it's going to happen more with Marvel moving forward, pretty much with any Disney property, because if you pay attention to the comics, they've done a lot of gender swaps with a lot of characters that didn't need it. Like we mentioned that, Elektra now is now the new Daredevil in the comics. It's like, why did you need to do that? Elektra was already an established character that everyone liked. Why you have her replace Daredevil? That's fucking dumb. You have Lady Bullseye now. You have you had Jane Foster. What? Yes, you have a Lady Bullseye. You had Jane Foster replace Thor. That didn't work out, so now she's replacing Valkyrie. So that's also another thing that's going on in the comics. There's a couple of other characters. All the characters in these series, I think I mentioned it's Psylocke in the comic books is now the new Captain Britain, and I was like, why in the world will she be the new Captain Britain? She's a mutant, like one of the most popular mutants in the X-Men universe. Why does she need to replace already established male character? But this is what they're doing because she's the woman who oversaw all the comics. And now all the stuff that happened in the comics is going to start happening in the movies. And we see this with other properties where they're talking about replacing Indiana Jones with that Phoebe chick from Fleabag as the new Indiana Jones. You're seeing this in Star Wars where they replaced all the male heroes with the female heroes. This is the agenda that Disney is pushing, and it's going to continue to happen for the next years to come. So when people start pointing this out, especially with Disney-related properties, whether it's Star Wars, Lucasfilm, or Marvel, it's not happening by coincidence. Look at the people who are in charge of all these projects, and lo and behold, Alonzo, lesbian, Sarah Kate Ellis, lesbian. I don't know about Kathleen Kennedy, I won't assume, but yeah, there's a whole bunch of other people involved with this. It's like you wonder why this agenda is being so heavily pushed in the films. It's because of the people who are in charge. That's why you're getting this stuff. You're going to keep getting it moving forward. So,
but real quick, I would just say that it's the wrong kind of representation because it's just mentioned it's irrelevant to their characters, and B, again, as I said out before, there is probably an overrepresentation of LGBTQ characters in film and on television compared to the actual population of LGBTQ Americans. So it seems strange that there's calls to have 50% of characters be gay, lesbian, what have you, when not 50% of the public is gay. And I think that's why so many younger generations, the millennials and the Zoomers, just assume that the LGBTQ population is 25% or 30% versus the actual estimate, which is around 6%. And this is not to bash anyone for their lives or for what they for what they are. This is just a lack of understanding that you have an overrepresentation of a community on film and on film and television as compared to real life. So you don't need this. And also, if you're going to have representation, find a happy medium between Okoye and or someone else. Thank you, my love. And then the other extreme, which is bros and their kind of super slutty behavior, because I don't think that gay men are that slutty. I don't think they're anywhere near that bad. But there it is.
Monkeypox says otherwise, but that's
monkeypox no longer exists. Monkeypox is cured.
They did cure it. I mean, you gotta give them credit. They nipped that stuff in the bud pretty quickly there. So I mean, there is that. I want to answer this question really quick. I want to answer this one real quick. Volume Zero asks, how much does Wakanda have to make in order to break even? So the production budget, as we said throughout the night, is $250 million. They said that the marketing is $150 million, which I believe is honestly bullshit because if you look at the break-even point for Thor: Love and Thunder, it has the exact same production. And to be honest with you, I think they spent more marketing this film than they did on Thor: Love and Thunder. Their break-even for that film was $700 million. I think it made about 750. So if we're using that same metric for this film, which is another big budget MCU film, this film is going to have to make at least anywhere between 750 to $800 million just to break even. And everyone's been expecting this film to make well over $1 billion. So if this doesn't hit anywhere near there, this one they're going to have to ask some serious questions about the MCU moving forward. And the CEO Bob Chapek is already signaling that they're going to start cutting a lot of these costs with the content of the stuff that they're producing because they're not seeing the return on their investment to justify these $300 million production budgets anymore. So I think you're going to start seeing in the next few months now major cuts coming from Disney, because if this one doesn't make a good chunk of money, which right now it's slightly above projections from what Thor: Love and Thunder made, but obviously with the amount they need to break even, that's not going to be enough to turn a good profit for this film. So you're going to see a lot of serious questions here about the MCU in the next couple of
I think there'll
few
probably be
months.
a large drop off this weekend too, just because a lot of the reviews are coming out and they're not really that great.
Mhm. Yeah,
Well,
and
also
then
the
the other
people
thing
who
is that
wanted
it's so
the
long.
movie. Yeah, well, the people who wanted to see the movie went to see it one. So
Yeah.
unless you followed that woman's advice to stay away to let black people watch it only, you're
Yeah.
not going to have more people go to see it.
Well, the little girl who was sitting behind me that was asking me questions, she was black, so she didn't mind that I was there. Her mom even
She
thanked
didn't call you a
me.
colonizer and ask you for you to leave.
No,
The
her
black people that
her
I
mom
saw.
even thanked me for being polite to her, and her dad said, "Well, be safe out there." And it was nice. I was like, I really don't understand why people listen to woke TikTokers for one.
Because Twitter is not real life, even though
Yeah,
people
well,
think
I
that
mean,
it
like,
is.
white people and black people aren't enemies. Bad people are enemies with good people, I think. And that's just it doesn't matter at that point, what you look like or what you do so.
Right.
I mean,
Well,
I mean,
you're the
I mean, like,
shining light of our dark world, and then don't change for any of us.
yeah,
So.
well, definitely.
Well, it's time to wrap things up, so I'm going to give everyone a chance to promote what they got coming up, and then we'll let you know what we've got coming up here on the channel. So let's start off with our good buddy Orange Hat. I know you said you did something with Cassie earlier, so I want you to let people know where they can find that.
Well, I have a guest choice review coming up with Cassie on Friday night, 6 p.m. I have my mystery review for tomorrow morning at 10:30 a.m. The hints are JCVD and Bottom One. That's a quote from the movie. And I also, let's see here, I'm covering Alec Baldwin stuff as it's coming out because more news is coming out every now and then. I covered an article on Rings of Power bribing Brazilians, which is actually doing not as good as expected because usually I get a lot of views on those. But anyway, other than that, I do guest choice reviews where you get to pick the movie, the time, and the date, and come on to my channel. We discuss the movie. It's pretty good fun. So yeah, Cassie's going to be joining me to discuss East of Eden with James Dean, I believe, is in that one. I haven't seen this movie yet. So
All
yeah.
right, then. And I put the link on your YouTube in the chat right there. Let's jump over to CS Johnson, who has a new Kickstarter that she wants everyone to post about. Why don't you tell people about it?
Okay, so this past year when the Miles Morales Thor thing came out, I said, as the whitest person I know, I could write a better black superhero than whoever wrote that. So this is my comic. It's about Discord. He's Atlanta's greatest superhero. He's got musical kind of superpowers, and he fights human traffickers, one of which is named Kathleen. So there you go. Sign up to be notified, so when it launches in January, you can give me money.
Yeah, I was trying to highlight you there. I think I had to do some weird stuff in order to get you. So yeah, there we go. It should be. There you go.
No, I live in Atlanta, and it's human trafficking is terrible here, and it's really a sad story just of the city and stuff. So I have a very nice. It's very male centric, so it's about basically he loses his father to human traffickers, and he's trying to find the killer using his ability to listen to the soul that's inside of people. Like everybody has like this little song inside of them,
Yeah.
And yep, this is just his quest to go find his father's killer, and like I said, save the children in the meantime.
Spencer was asking you who was drawing the series. You happen to know?
So I actually have a nice team, and they live outside the country, but they're the light comic studio people are doing it. So
should have named one of the human traffickers Stacy if you live in Georgia.
Are you talking about child traffickers or just cannibals at that point? So
both. Yes.
I'll go there. Well, let's go to the man who lives pretty close to a Whataburger, I'm sure, Mr. Rick Aragon. By the way, the Whataburger out here in Georgia still being built. It's not finished yet, but it's coming along. So
I shouldn't have had that. Oh, I shouldn't have had that Whataburger. I mean, it was good, but I need to stop eating so much junk food. Well, what do I have coming up? I just posted my review of a Netflix documentary about Jimmy Savile, notorious pedophile, and now I'm going to work on the on my review of an American Tragedy, which was the original version of A Place in the Sun. The A Place in the Sun is a movie that I highly recommend. It's a sad but beautiful love story with brilliant performances all around. I what else have I got coming up? Well, not much really. I mean, I'm just trying to still clear out the DVR, watch the DVDs that I have, and that's pretty much it. My life has been pretty quiet. My that would I think I answered that question. She's your generation, Miss Ross. So
yeah, you only said that because Cassie's here, and Cassie would have an absolute meltdown if you compared Rihanna to Diana Ross.
Well, yeah, Miss Ross. You have to call her Miss Ross. So that's pretty much it. So it's been a pretty quiet. My car passed its inspection, so I still look for that check engine light. That's pretty much my life. Driving my little Mazda, always checking to see if the light comes back on. But since my car passed the inspection, I don't care if the light comes on right now. So so long it passes the inspection. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. Oh, I did watch a couple of football games, so that's a plus for me.
Yeah, not happy in the chat right now. Just
hey, they asked for this generation, right? They asked for this generation's. I answered. Blame Spencer. He's the one who got me to. He's the one who asked the question. Don't kill the messenger there.
There's a mushroom cloud to the south of me right now.
Yeah, that's growing.
Yeah, it's rising. It's almost hitting atmosphere now.
It will not reach out West Texas, so I'm fine.
Well, let's also give a little shout out to our good friend Obi Tynes who joined us here tonight. I'm not sure if you have anything to promote. I'm gonna put your Twitter up in the chat for everybody. But you have anything you want to tell the group or anything you want got coming up?
Not really. I'm doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes with wrestling now. Because the wrestling scene has been pretty trash lately. So I'm doing stuff behind the scenes with that. Me and my trainers got some stuff going on in Yorktown, Virginia. I know I'm doing a lot of streaming right now with God of War Ragnarok. So I'm doing that like every day. So keep an eye out for that. My Twitch is Blue Pro Gaming, BLU Pro Gaming. I'm usually streaming almost every day, every other day. And I'm streaming God of War Ragnarok until I get done with it. And that's about it for right now.
All right, and then last but certainly not least, our one half Hispanic representation of the night, Mr. Rob Motto. Go ahead and put your stuff in the chat and let people know where they can find more of you.
Yeah. So my Twitter's pretty much in my handle, as Cassie's comment wipes it out. So that's good. No, like I just wanted to mention real quick, East of Eden is the one L.A. Kazan movie I don't hate, with James Dean. So it's a good movie. And A Place in the Sun is another great movie, Montgomery Clift, Elizabeth Taylor. So check those two movies out. I'm mostly watching film noir this month because I'm obsessed with the genre, and it's November. So just been watching John Garfield movies, Veronica Lake movies on Criterion. So if you guys have any recommendations, shoot them to me.
Arsenic and Old Lace.
Hey, what are we watching next week, or what are we supposed to be watching this weekend? Because I don't think we.
Well, it's almost as if I was gonna let you guys know exactly what's coming up on the channel for the next week, if we can, get back to me here. So I wanted to go ahead and let you guys know that tomorrow night we're gonna do episode 24 of the Barroom Podcast. We have gotten all the way up to 24. This thing keeps growing, even though we're only doing once a week. We got a lot of stuff to talk about essentially tomorrow. So I want to talk about the fact that the media is attacking Yellowstone, Taylor Sheridan, who I think is the best screenwriter in Hollywood right now, but they're attacking his show because it's popular and it's appealing to non-woke people in the red states. So we're going to talk about that. Dave Chappelle defended Kyrie Irving and Kanye West, and now people are upset, accusing him of being anti-Semitic for defending those two. We'll talk about that tomorrow. The USA Men's World Cup team has replaced the red, white, and blue of their jerseys with the pride colors in the Middle East. So they may very well be getting people killed in the upcoming World Cup. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Margot Robbie and her female Pirates of the Caribbean film is pretty much dead on arrival. We'll talk about that. And then, of course, we'll talk about Phoebe Waller-Bridge being the new Indiana Jones and people being very, very pissed about that, including test audiences not very happy about that. So that's going to be the Barroom Podcast tomorrow. Wednesday night, myself, TW, and Nerdigans are going to be doing retro wave reviews. We're going to be talking about the Disney Channel film 1998, actually, So Weird. We'll be talking about that one on Wednesday night. Obviously, right after that, we'll be doing the Black Pill stream with myself, John, Spencer, and Josh, who are now yelling at each other like children in the chat right now. But I mean, that's just pretty much, what to expect from those two. Outside of that, then next Monday night, we'll be back here for a movie review. And I figured I'd go easy on you guys this week and not give you something that, I hope that it's going to be good. So we're going to be reviewing The Menu next week here on this show. So it's probably the best option that you guys are going to get, because the only other film that comes out is that She Said movie, which is the Harvey Weinstein movie that got, how long is that shit? It's over 2 hours. So I'm just sparing you guys this week by giving you a movie that should hopefully be a little bit more fun than that one. So The Menu is the movie that we'll be watching next week here on this podcast. So like I said, site reviews here on YouTube. Make sure you also are following me on Twitch as well, because we do streams on Twitch. And then, I don't know, I'm thinking about doing a little bit more sports content, or at least some live watch-alongs, but I got to figure out the right dates of putting that all together right now. So we'll figure it out. So go ahead and let you guys see the Twitch channel here. And then, for everyone who joined us tonight, Mexican Iron Man, I'm glad that we got him on the show to talk about this film. Paulie, who joined us earlier tonight, give a shout out to those guys. We posted their links earlier tonight, so shout out to those two for dropping in on us this week. And for everyone in the chat, Duke Nukem, Spencer, Josh, obviously arguing in the chat for nonsense. Cassie, who was in the chat tonight. Everybody else who was there. If I missed you guys, I'll give a shout out to you. I know Chaos God was there. Osnot was definitely there earlier because I made a joke at his expense. But for everyone who joined us, and for all the people here in the panel, thank you guys for joining me for another Monday night. Hopefully I will see most of you guys back here tomorrow night when we do the Barroom Podcast. Until then, we're going to go ahead and hit the outro and get the hell out of here. And by the way, congratulations to the Washington football team for knocking out the undefeated Philadelphia Eagles tonight. So, yeah, get fucked, Philly. You guys are not going to win the Super Bowl. So
Yes, we are.
No, you're not. All right, then let's go ahead and wrap this up. We will see you guys tomorrow night. Good night. Goodbye. Go away. Go home. Go sleep. It's late. Bye.